Morning, morning. Morning, Donna Walcott, Trevor Carter Nelson, good morning, J. Dimples, Alberta Sampat, Rhonda Joseph, good morning, guys. So, let's see here. Be careful how you're voting. I tell you, be careful how you're voting. Well, brethren, we want a government like the one we have. Don't change the government, otherwise you starve. Take out your identification card, and when you're voting, vote for a prosperous. Let me tell you, I know you have good intentions. Don't forget sparrow mention. Tell your body hey, the doctor break away. Tell your body don't mind with Lionel, sir. Tell your body Lion go light in judgment day. Tell your body registration, then election. So use your discretion. Don't worry. Say you're sorry. Just vote correctly. It's the best ever government. If I lie or die. Don't make no mistake, a shot to miss the water everywhere run dry. So take out your identification card, and when you're voting, let me tell you, I know you have good intentions. Don't forget sparrow mention. Let your body there, Glambedore. Let your body there, don't mind with Lionel, sir. Let your body there, I go night till judgment day. Let your body there, I let your body well, the People's National Movement will continue showing improvement because the doctor is a born leader, and to us he is like a father. Look, we send him right to Calcutta, live at Niru, the Indian Messiah. So you see, he ain't prejudiced. Don't mind Lionel and his stupidness. Why you talking? Because you identification. And when you're voting, vote for a prosperous leader. Oh, now let me tell you, I know you have good intentions. Don't forget sparrow mention. Let your body there on election. Gambedore. Let your body there on election. Don't mind with Lionel, sir. Let your body there on election. Really, boy, you have him to today. Let your body there on election. Let your body there on election. Let your body there on election. Let your body there on Morning, all. Morning, folks. Yes, it's been a while since I played that song. That used to be my theme song on 91.9. Morning to DPA, John Edwards, Alison Boyce. Morning, Alison. Claudette Jeffrey, Veronica Jack, Keelan Jackson. Morning, Carol. Carol Myers, Arden Hinkson, Ian Glowden. Morning. Denise Reed, Stephanie Fraser, Santana, Ashlyn Robertson, Betty James, morning. Ruth Fronting, good morning. Jennifer Dorset, Arthur James, good morning to all of you guys.
Right, so who I have here, let me see. Vero Stewart, good morning. Morning Valerie. Good morning Saldana, good morning. Sadana Kwashi, Glenn Richardson. Right, Glenn says, good morning to Susan from Claxton Bay. Let's see. Point Kumana Sharon, good morning. Douglas Miami. Daniela Williams, morning. David Clark. Leon Joseph, Baba Osei, good morning to all of you guys. So many people on. Yeah. Right. My apologies, folks, for I don't know if Angie's on here. Good morning, Angie, and good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, Nigel O'Connor, and First Lady Marissa Kagan. Morning to Mother Tunapuna. I think she's doing a live as we speak. Yeah, so let me see here. Jenny Joseph, Sarah Richards, morning. Minad Lazari, good morning. Yeah, so I was saying apologies for Thursday. Tuesday's live. I had a very early morning meeting at 8 o'clock in Port of Spain, a campaign strategy meeting, so to speak. Persons who shall remain nameless, but nevertheless, it was a productive meeting, and hopefully what came out of that meeting can be implemented as we go forward for the next 6 weeks leading up to August 14th for local government election. Very important election. We cannot stress that enough. And the onus is on you to ensure that on election night, the only expression on Kamala Persad-Bissessa's face is one of disappointment. It is one of trepidation, one of concern. All right? Just as you all did on the night of September 7th, 2015, where she would have abandoned her supporters at Rienzi Complex, where the tradition was that on election night, the political leaders of all parties would address their supporters, regardless of the outcome of the election, whether it was in their favor or not. If you win, you celebrate with your supporters. If you lose, you provide words of consolation. Mrs. Persad-Bissessa did not do that. First political leader that I can recall who abandoned her supporters who were waiting for her at Rienzi Complex, just to see her, to hear, comfort us now, but she's the mother of the nation. They like to call her that. And she's the best thing since sliced bread, and they love her so much. She didn't care about Olian on that night. She knew she jumped in the car. She didn't even go in the you're still the prime minister for another day and a half. But she abandoned the official vehicles and jumped in her sister's car and went home, probably to drown her sorrows and I don't know what. But her supporters remained faithful, committed to her. Nevertheless, right? She couldn't care less about Olian that night. But yeah, they continue to applaud her and support her. And this is the issue. Eh? No matter how many elections she has lost in the last 13 years, 10 years, from 2013 to now, despite the fact that convention or tradition has it that when a political leader of a party loses an election, they would normally step down. Or if you lose two, definitely step down. She's still there, election after election. So it's not about the people, it's not about the betterment of the party. It's about her. But they continue to keep faith with her. And for that, the supporters of that party should be commended. Unlike some people in the PNM, we saw how they treated Mr. Manning in 2010 at that general election when they ran him like a dog from Balize House. Mr. Manning did the honorable thing. He, on the night of the election, he addressed the crowd, he took full responsibility for the loss, and then he subsequently resigned as political leader and gave way to Dr. Rowley. The honorable thing to do. Yeah? Today, some of the same people still praising him and so on. Yes, as he should be, because he did a very good job. But at the time, real people who were supposedly loyal to him chase him out of Balize House. Go from here, we don't want you, go from here. I always say Mr. Manning, when he went to the polls on May 24, 2010, he had one vote, only one. So the party lost the election not because of anything Mr. Manning did. The party lost the election in 2010 because PNM people took chin up, right? Some of you all bought into the narrative about call the hat thief, and how much he thief. As soon as they beat that like a rented mule, come into office. And as soon as they came into office, you never heard another thing about Calder Heart. 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Not one word about Calder Heart that we were hearing about for months. Every day, Calder Heart, Calder Heart, Calder Heart thief, Calder Heart do this, bid rigging, Calder Heart brother-in-law is a director on Sunway Construction, Calder Heart. I'm fed up here about Calder Heart. Till Ishmael Samad went and take a sledgehammer and went to buy Calder Heart House in Cascade to say he going to make a citizen's arrest and pound down the man gate. Remember that? When questions were asked of the then Attorney General, Anaram Logan, what going on with Calder Heart? Yeah, well, we know where he is, man, so we're ready for him. 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days, you were never ready for him. His crimes under the Manning regime was so atrocious, so egregious were his crimes that he needed to make a jail. Never make a jail, was never interviewed by the police, never see handcuffs, nothing. But they went after people who they said nothing about in the election campaign, right? They put up, you all remember the big billboards they had up on the highway with Calder Heart and Mr. Manning? The two of them standing next to a big pile of money. You all remember that? They put up billboards with Mr. Manning dressed in army fatigue, looking like Idi Amin, and that's what they were calling him and so on. Remember those things? 2010, all who take chin up, Manning must go. Do so. Manning must go. And Manning went. Thanks to Somalia who take chin up. It's something new. And if it didn't work out well, we could always go back. You can't change 5 years. And I keep telling you all, your vote is non-refundable. So when you jump out yourself to vote for the wrong party, and then you come to realize the mistake you make soon after, you can't go back to the EDC and say, I want a refund, I want back my vote. No, you have to hold that for 4 years, local government. It's 4 now, Just remember that, not 3 anymore. And 5 for general election. So all who want to take this election lightly and me voting and nah, the PNM done when I really, let me tell you something. This election, that will apply. Even if you live in a district, a constituency which you believe the government cannot win or the PNM cannot win, every vote counts. Because remember, even if you don't win the district or the seat, you could still get an alderman in the corporation. And the PNM is underrepresented in several UNC-controlled corporations, the likes of Princestown Regional Corporation, Siparia, the Penal Debe Corporation, the Cuba Tabaqui Telparo Corporation, the Mayaro Rio Claro Corporation, all of these corporations where we are underrepresented in terms of councillors, we can still have representation in the form of aldermen to keep the UNC in check. Understand? Because if you have no representation, they could run a racket. They could do what they want for 4 years, not 3 anymore. They could thief as much as they want. The 300,000 that went missing from the Siparia Corporation. Anybody can tell me any updates on that? Do not Meru? I know he like to listen. Are you here, Mr. Meru? You have any updates on that 300,000 that went missing? Just so? Yeah, but that's no big thing, right? If it was missing from a PNM corporation, yeah, we wouldn't hear the end of it from the UNC supporters. But it's their corporation, par for the course, normal thing. So I'm telling you, even if you think my vote can't count and the PNM can't win here, forget that. Come out and vote so that we could at least get the numbers required to get some aldermen to monitor what goes on in that corporation, to be a check and balance against the thievery and corruption that could take place. So you wouldn't have a chairman of a corporation holding some big event, using public monies and then saying, well, no, the chairman's fund is not public monies. And when the media contacted you, you call back 3 minutes later to say, well, now that I think about it, I think I was wrong, I think the chairman's fund really is public monies. You were chairman for 3.5 years and you didn't know that. But it took one phone call from the media to wake you up. One phone call from the media to bring you to your senses, right? You give your sister-in-law a contract to provide roti, $12,000. No tender. That's it. Yeah, I guess she that now. She just make good roti, real good roti. Trust me, it tastes real good. $12,000. No tender. Soul select, right? And every year you're doing that. And then when they ask you, I say, well, she used to provide meals for the corporation even before I came here. And that's your justification. But while you're talking procurement, Procurement. We want the procurement legislation, and the government watered down the procurement legislation so they could give contract to different family and financiers. Simple things like that. You're not interested in procurement. And? Right. Folks, this is a very important election. I cannot stress that enough. It is an extremely important election. And as I've said before, and I will repeat, UNC supporters are energized to vote. Why? It has nothing to do with representation. They couldn't care less if the candidate is a dog, cat, crapo, you name it. Wearing a UNC shirt, they couldn't care less. It's not about representation. It's about sending a message to the PNM, as we keep hearing night after night on UNC platforms, as we keep hearing, and every time they call a press conference, send a message, send a message. Send a message to Rowley. Send a message to the PNM. So don't go and vote because you want betterment. Don't go and vote because you want to know that when rain falls and your home is flooded, that you could get assistance. Don't vote for that. Don't vote because you want to make sure that when you go out to put out your garbage, you're not seeing big rats looking like Manikou and Guti running wherever it is the garbage, you put out your garbage. You don't want to see that. You want to ensure that when you put out your garbage, that by the next day, or every morning at a certain time, you could wake up. If your alarm not working, the garbage truck will wake you up because you know they're on time. Don't vote for that. Don't vote for the minor roads that fall under local government in your area that have potholes. So right now, it's potholes. Don't vote to ensure that they don't get a crater status, right? Don't vote for that. Don't vote to ensure that the status quo will change where every time we have an election, you're here, but I know who my counselor is. I ain't see my counselor. The last time I see he, or the last time I see she was when they were coming around to get my vote. You're fed up about that. But don't vote for that. That's not what they're telling you. Yeah. Vote, send a message to Rowley. Don't vote, vote. Where you voting? The fact that your counselor is a damn waste of time, like Sima in Bamboo number 2, I ain't say so. In Chad Ishmael, there a video, half an hour, well, 28.5 minutes, where he drove through Bamboo number 2, interviewing residents, asking them about the performance of the councillor Sima, who was the last councillor and who has gotten the nod to once again represent that district, that area. Consummate failure. Everybody interview, person after person say, waste of time. She ain't do nothing. Just imagine, the other day when it had the flood in Bamboo number 2, and Inshan run Faris and Rohan out of Bamboo. Faris and Rohan show up before the councillor. The councillor show up about 4 days after with the MP, Khadija Amin. But you costway Faris, costway Rohan, right? Because they can't think and whatever. They show up before the MP and the councillor. 4 days later, you see any video with them running Khadija and Sima out of the area? No. You see no video with that. But the two ministers, because they pay them, run them out. But you know what? They go in and vote back Sima. Never mind the fact that person after person, you drive the whole length of the road, and everybody saying she's a waste of time. UNC is a waste of time. They ain't doing nothing. I didn't vote for she last time. Yeah? But just to send a message to Rowley and the PNM, I will give them a vote, and I'll brace myself for 4 years of non-representation, for 4 years of excuses, 4 years of absolutely nothing, 4 years of the councillor collecting salary under false pretenses. And again, 4 years, and I think now they're going to be full-time, so they're probably supposed to be getting an increase of pay and other perks to serve you. Plenty of them, that's all they're going there for. They couldn't care less about representing you. You will go and sit down in the office and cry me a river of woes, a litany of woes, and they will take notes, copious notes, and tell you, okay, don't worry, I will take it to the corporation. And then when I say go and follow up, now the corporation, we have no money. We can't do nothing about that. Next. And here it is that the PNM is telling you this is what we propose to put in place so the corporation could have more money. We're just asking you to contribute a little bit for development of your area, because the money that you would pay in property tax goes to your corporation. It's not going into the consolidated fund to help people in corporations that is not yours. So when it goes into the consolidated fund, it could end up in Diego Martin in the borough, the new borough of Diego Martin, or the borough of Separia, Arima, Kuvatabaki, Talparo, but under this new system. Your little kakada that you're paying, the little extra the government is not telling you to give them your money, you know. It is to contribute for the development of your area. But all you have a problem with that. I heard the leader of the opposition on Monday night talking about the councillors will now have the power to create gated communities. To create gated communities. How that gate paying for? How the gate paying for? What about the maintenance of the gate? So when it have maintenance issues, how it paying for? For the already fund-starved corporations. You all don't want to contribute anything extra. So whatever money they always receive from the state, let that do more things. So let it now be used to pay contractors, probably Soul Select, to establish gated communities. Great. Now, if it's a gated community, there's one of two things that happen. Either you have a security booth where you have to pay a security guard to raise the bar, or if it's to open the gate, or if it's one of those electronic gates, then everybody had to have a remote. How that paying for? How is that being paid for? But all you want to pay no property tax. You don't want to pay $972 a year. And that is the base on the basis of average, annual rental, not income, but estimated annual rent of $3,000 a month, so $36,000 a year. The average household in the neighborhoods, the communities that they're telling you where the poor people live in and can't afford, right? The rent, the estimated rent or the assessed rental value is likely to be $3,000 or less. So some of you might end up paying less than $972 because your house might only be able to be rented for $2,000. Some of your house can not even fit to be rented, but they will do an assessment based on others in the area. So your house might only be able to fetch $1,500 because if you're so poor and suffering as the UNC keeps making out, you can't afford to buy food to make ends meet and so on, you're catching your royal, well then you can't be living in a house that could fetch $3,000 rent per month, right? And that is the picture they want to paint. So I am saying $972 or less per year for the average citizen that the UNC claims they're trying to protect from this wicked draconian property tax. So it's at about what? $81 or so per month? $81 or more. But tomorrow morning, if Digital say they're increasing their rates, well, you're paying it. If B-Mobile say they're increasing their rates, you're paying it. And Flow say they're increasing their rates by $81 a month, well, you're pay it. And no problem with that. No problem with that. Carib said they're increasing the price of beers, no problem. Angostura said they're increasing the price of White Oak, Forest Park, Punchin, no problem with that. Well, they're still buying it. You will grumble a little bit, they're wicked, boy. Yeah? But it's not reducing the amount of rounds that you will buy when you and the boys lining by the bar. If when you go down by Copa, and Copa tell you, hey, we increase the rates for the venues, or you go down by Dad's Dan or wherever it is. You're complaining that the price of the venue is going up? No, you ain't care. You just want to go and bury your head in the snatch. You ain't care the price. But you ain't want to pay a little extra in property tax that could strengthen your title hold, especially for the squatters that they want to talk about. Right now, the state could come and move you anytime. Say, declare where you live to be a squatter area, they lick down your house. What claim do you have? You might have a little something to say, well, look, I pay property tax, so what are making me pay property tax for, and I have no title or no entitlement to live here. If it is that as a squatter, you're paying your property tax, you might have a lawyer. If the state decide they want to come and knock down the houses in the area, a lawyer might come and take the case and say, we file in a class action suit. That these persons had a reasonable expectation that they would be allowed to stay on the land by virtue of the fact that the government would have been collecting property tax from them. Collecting property tax, in a sense, indicates some level of ownership. That is why renters will not pay property tax because they do not own the property. It is the landlords who own the property, who have title to the property, would be required to pay the property tax. HDC homeowners, the only HDC homeowners who will not be paying the property tax will be those who are rent to own, and those who are rented accommodation. The HDC will be responsible for paying that tax. But for the persons who have taken mortgages, once you have taken your mortgage and from TTMF or whoever, and you buy your house, you are not, that is now between you and TTMF. The HDC no longer owns that home. They sold it to you. You got the money from TTMF, you paid HDC for their property, and now you are the owner in title. But the mortgage company is the owner until such time as you pay off the mortgage. So you have to pay tax because that is your property. For every mortgage payment that you make, you are building equity in that home. So every mortgage payment you make, your equity in that home goes up, and the equity of the mortgage company goes down. So you are building towards owning, having full ownership, and every mortgage payment that you make, you reduce the amount of ownership or the extent of ownership of the mortgage company. So you have a vested interest in that property, and therefore for that you pay the property tax. So if somebody is squatting, if the government says, well, I have no entitlement to live here, well, then why charge me property tax? But if you're charging me property tax, understand that I expect certain things. Because if you're telling me paying the property tax means that garbage collection, I expect you to send garbage trucks in my area. If you're telling me that paying property tax is going to improve my quality of life in terms of the roads, then I expect you to put roads in my area, never mind the fact that it is a squatting area, right? All of these different things. Because you can't tell me property taxes to get these things and I'm not getting it because I'm living in a squatting area. Well, then I'm not supposed to pay property tax. But they're not going to tell you that, right? The citizens, the average citizen who live in there, you know what they're telling you? They want to dig out your eye. Which government? You ever hear any other government in the world telling you vote for us for more taxes? And this government is tax. Right now we have a tax amnesty going on. The minister announced last week that it is extended to the 31st of August. And I wouldn't be surprised if he extended after that, because it was supposed to have ended in March. Was it February the 17th? And it was extended to March, and then it was extended to May, and now it's extended to August. You know why that is so? Because it speaks to the extent of tax evasion that has been taking place in this country. And the minister, who they say wicked and evil and only want to tax, he could have said, well, the amnesty is until February, we ended there. And anybody who didn't take advantage of the amnesty up to that point in time, not only do you have to pay your back taxes, your corporation tax, your income tax, or whatever it is, you will have to pay interest and penalties on that. But this minister, this government that is so wicked and evil, continues to extend the amnesty. We keep giving you more time. We don't want it to take more than is necessary. All we're telling you to do, pay what is due. Pay what you owe. We waive in the interest, we waive in the penalties, all kind of things. We could end up doubling or tripling what you owe. So money that you're owing the government since 2020, 2019, 2018, come, just come and pay it now. You enjoy the use of the money for so long. Come and pay it. We keep giving you all opportunities. The first amnesty that Colin Membert had when he came in as minister, 3 months, right? He was expecting to get $500 million in outstanding taxes. How much he got? 5 times that. Almost 5 times that. $2.4 billion in outstanding taxes. But under the PP, the first tax amnesty that Mr. Winston Dukaran had for 10 months, all they got was $750 million. Colin Membert got more than 3 times what they got in 3 months. In 3 months. And I would always recall David Abdullah is on record as having said multiple times that he had a conversation with a former PP Minister of Finance. There were only 2. So the field isn't that large for us to try and figure out who it was. Even if we get it wrong, well, we know it is the other one. 2, right? He said in a conversation with a former PP Minister of Finance on the issue of tax evasion, he was told that they estimate on average $7.5 billion worth of taxes is lost through tax evasion. And when he asked, so why aren't you all trying to do anything to recoup that money? He was told by this former PP minister, we can't do nothing because it's our people, our financiers that are the guilty parties. So we're not interested. We can't do nothing. We are not about looking after the best interest of the citizens and the state. It is party before country, not country before party. And because it's party before country, well, how we could go after our financiers? How we could do that? We can't do that. This is what David Abdullah has said numerous occasions. Anybody in the UNC has denied that? Has either of the two finance ministers come out and say, well, no, it wasn't me? Because they know, well, if I say it wasn't me first, well, then it had to be the next one. So everybody protecting each other's back. So let them guess, was it Hawaii or Dukaran? And so long as both of us remain quiet, they will never know. So it's either he or me. Right? But a statement like that, nobody in the UNC has denied it. $7.5 billion a year in taxes lost through tax evasion. But they tell you we don't want no TTRA. We don't want a revenue authority. All we need to do is to plug the leaks. Plug the leaks in BIR and be good to go. Yeah? What is their history and track record with respect to plugging leaks? Not very good. Not very good at all. Can't plug leaks in your own party. Ask UNC Kabali, he'll tell you. Amit Suknanan, all you're not better than Wasa in plugging leaks. Everyday information coming to Kabi and others. Right? But 7.5 billion being lost. You know we could do it at 7.5 billion? Maybe if the government had that, they wouldn't need property tax. If they could catch that. They're telling you we need to bring all of the revenue entities, all of the entities that collect revenue for the state, bring it under one umbrella. So it's easier to manage and monitor. Rather than you have this customs, BIR, the warden office, everybody, all Tom, Dick, and Harry. So the whole process of reconciling collections becomes more difficult. And the government is trying to fix that. But we want to be first world. We want to be first world with a 10th world mentality. I'm saying that, 10th world, not even third world mentality. Right? I saw the pushback movement and whoever, what it was, I saw a video. They protesting outside the US embassy. America, help we. America, help we. Rowley killing we, America. Oh gosh, America, help we now. Candace Bond, the US ambassador, should have come outside and say, oh, come inside. We will help you. Right? We have some papers here for you all to fill out to become residents of the US. So you all could come and live and work in the United States. We will help you. But we just need to give you a tutorial of all the taxes that you will have to pay when you come to the US. So property tax, number one. Inheritance tax, number two. Two of the taxes that you all are opposing in your country. Well, the inheritance tax, so we know that is a lie from the pit of hell, better known as UNC headquarters. Right? But the political leader continues to push that. She's the only person talking that. Take note. The rest of them would share things that she thinks, but none of them are talking to talk about inheritance tax. She's the only one pushing that. The liar that she is. We'll come into that just now. Right? So that's two there. Then you have state tax, generation skipping tax, because every time you pass property from one generation to the next in the US, you have to pay a tax on that. And if you try a smart thing to say, well, okay, I have property, and instead of passing it to my son and had to pay tax on that, and when he passed it to his son, he had to pay tax, I'll pass it to my grandson. No, it's called a generation skipping tax. Right? You had to pay a tax on that too. And you know what is the inheritance tax rate? Goes up to 40% of the value of your estate. 40%. So when you're dead, yes, you have federal estate tax, state death tax, and that is just some of the taxes that you have to pay over there. I know. I lecture in that. Right? So I'm very familiar with the US tax system. Some of the taxes. You will be surprised at the amount of taxes that you have to pay there. Yeah, but America help we. America's citizens should be calling on Dr. Rowley to help them. Yeah? But all you want America to help all you. For what? So if Candace call them inside there and say, come on, sit down. Well, we need to go through all the things that you will have to pay. Right? I bet you. They'll say, well, here one now, we will think about it and get back to you, right? They'll call in next week. And next week, you won't see them. Yeah. When she tell them, well, you know, in the US, you know, the privilege that you will have here to just walk in a hospital if you're feeling sick. You bounce your toe and it's hurting you for 2 days. You decide you want to go in the hospital to check it out to get a free x-ray, CT scan and the like, right? And then when you walk out, you have a prescription. You could just go down to the dispensary and get the medication for free. We ain't have that here. So just know, when you call the ambulance to pick you up, you have to pay for that. When you reach to the hospital, right, you have to pay for that. For each day that you stay in the hospital. So make sure it's either you have health insurance or you're pocket deep. If you don't have health insurance, make sure you work with your checkbook because you're going to have a bill to pay. Understand? And it then have no holy prescription and go down to the dispensary. You have to pay for that too. But America help we. Rowley killing we. Rowley killing we. Rowley killing all them. Ask yourself. Rowley's average budget between 2016 to now has been about 53. Between 50 to 53, maybe 54 billion at a stretch. Prasad Bisesa was spending upwards of 60 billion, between 58 to 64 billion a year. Plenty more than Rowley was spending. Now, Rowley could do what Prasad Bisesa did and give Ole what Ole wants to know. But understand, there is a cost for that. Right now, as I would have pointed out to you all last week or week before, the cost of Prasad Bisesa spending $60+ billion a year to give Ole what Ole wanted is today the government having to pay $5 billion a year in interest. Go on the central bank website and see it. $5 billion a year on interest. Exchequer account, overdraft. From 10 billion to 33 billion. What was the interest on that? How much road that money could have paid? You know how much laptop that could have buy? You know what increases they could have given on the food card for that? You know how many increases they could have given to CPAP workers? Maybe if they didn't have to pay $5 billion a year in interest on debt incurred by that administration, they could have probably given the public servants at 8% or maybe even 10%. But all that money, imagine 10% of the country's budget going to paying interest. We ain't talk principal yet, interest. The loan that Mrs. Prasad Bisesa took for the Cuba Hospital, payment started on that in 2018. She took the loan, but this administration had to take the licks for it. And they're already spending less than what she was spending, earning less than what she was earning. And that is the situation. All who complaining about, oh, Rowley sent up the price of fuel. But when it is that Kamala increased the price of premium from $4 to $5.75 one shot, ram the proverbial umbrella up all your K-packs with no grease. UNC all they complain, no, let's push it a little further. You didn't reach far enough yet. I feel it in my tonsils. All they didn't complain about that. Yeah, but call me, but give all in little increments. You say instead of taking the 175 one shot, hold 50 cents now, and 6 months from now, I'll give you 25 cents. So you get accustomed to it gradually. No, all they wanted the whole bamboo. Now, no kudos for that. And increase in personal allowance 3 times. 3 times in the last 8 years. So thousands of you who were paying taxes, income tax under Kamala, you no longer pay income tax. And the rest of you all paying $7,500 less in income tax than you were paying under Kamala. But asking, are we better off than we were in 2015? Yes, we are. That is more money in your pocket. So technically, you get a pay raise because that money should have been going to the Board of Inland Revenue, right? And you have no control of what happens straight after that. But no, this wicked and evil Keith Rowley and Coleman will tell you, keep that. Spend it as you see fit. Spend it as you see fit. That's what they tell you. No kudos for that, but this government loves to tax that. How many times did Kamala Prasad Bisesa increase your personal allowance between 2010 to 2015 when she was earning the highest energy revenues in the country's history? How many times? 0. Not once did she increase it. The only thing she did was to remove VAT, as she said, off of 7,000 food items. Up to now, they can't tell you what the 7,000 food items is. So they adjusted now. She removed VAT on 7,000 items. So it can be food and non-food. And to fool people. That is all she did with respect to taxes. But you have gotten more tax relief under this administration, as was mentioned last week Thursday by Coleman Burt, where for first-time homeowners, the threshold for stamp duty was increased from 850,000 to 2 million. You know what Kamala did? She increased it from 450 to 8. She increased it by 400,000. Right? The PNM increased it by over $1 million, meaning that you could now purchase a home as a first-time home buyer for up to $2 million and you pay no stamp duty. None. What that could work out to? Almost $70,000 in closing costs. That is extra, and that's stamp duty money not included in your mortgage. You have to find that money. So aside from your down payment, that stamp duty money has to go to the Board of Inland Revenue. So you have to make sure you have that saved. Under Kamla Prasad Visesa, if you wanted a first-time homeowner purchasing a home costing up to $2 million, you would have had to find that $70,000 in addition to your down payment of 10%. So if the home costs $2 million, you would have to find the 10%, your $200,000 plus $70,000 for stamp duty. We ain't talk other closing costs, yes, lawyer fees and all them different things. But under Keith Rowley, he say keep that 70,000. Use it to paint the house. Use it to furnish the house. Keep it. But they want to tell you this government is a taxing government. This government has given more tax relief to the citizens than Kamla Prasad Visesa ever did. And I challenge any of you UNC supporters listening here to challenge me on that. Talk about it, but let us talk about that. You know, every time they come in the comments and you give them that information, they try to deflect and change the topic. To tell you how but we suffer and we don't care about that. Of course, you all don't care about that. You know why? Because you all can handle the truth. You cannot handle the truth. That when it comes to tax relief, this PNM administration has done far more for the citizens than Kamla Prasad Visesa ever did. But all you wouldn't take the time to do research. Just read headlines and comment. And then she'll talk about tax. And I never see a government vote for this is the same woman who in her manifesto 2020, which is the same manifesto you're going to get in 2025, is telling you she will reduce corporation tax, cut it in half. So the income that the state currently receives from these big businesses that making billions of dollars every year, Republic declaring they're making $1 billion plus $1.52 billion in profit. FCB, Scotia, RBC, Prestige Holdings, and Samakal, Massey Group, all of them, billions of dollars in profit. Keith Rowley say, well, it's so, well, I would take 30 and 35% from all here. But Kamla say, no, we'll cut it to 18. Rowley taking too much from the rich. We will give it back to them. And the expectation is, you know what they will do? Is that they will take the savings, the tax savings, and expand their business. Expand their business to do what? Make more profits, to make more money, and to get richer? Who really making the rich richer? All these UNC supporters complaining Paris collecting $23 million a month in rent. Don't know where they get that from. It was supposed to be $23 million for 3 years for number 3 Alexandra Street, and it came down to 21 because Zaman Enterprises, which owns the building, gave the government 3 months free use of the building to facilitate moving in and the establishment and to put up the outfitting and so on, right? That's so 22, but they're saying 23 million a month. Well, let me do the maths. That's what I tell you. They don't think. There is just so 23 million a month using their figures, right? Their data works out about $276 million a year. So they're telling you the government paying Paris and Zaman Enterprises $276 million a year. But they don't want Paris to pay property tax. They don't want to give back some of that $276 million, which is a damn lie. But anyway, they had to embellish and exaggerate in order to get people to pay attention to them, right? But we have $276 million, that's what all you're saying. But you have more Paris to pay back now. If it is Paris based on the commercial rates, and he really receiving $276 million a year, that means he's supposed to be paying about $13.5–14 million in property tax every year. But you know what all they're telling Paris? We have one of property tax, Paris, you keep that 14. Yeah, you keep that 14 million. And like yourself, build up the bank account for your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. We don't want you to get poorer. That'd be, if we take property tax from you, Paris, you'll be 14 million less, $14 million poorer every year. You and your family, we don't want that. Keep it. All the money that Ansa Makal making from Grand Bazaar. Drive around Grand Bazaar any day, catching your Royal to get parking inside it. All the businesses inside it, if you see them. How much money you think the Ansa Makal group making from that rental income? How much property tax they pay? Zero. Thanks to who? Not Keith Rowley. Keith Rowley say, I want them to pay. Kamla say no. C3, when you go down there, right? Well, you love to go down to C3 and South Park, Movie Town. How much property tax direction pay on Movie Town in Vedas Bay? When you go down there, always ram out. Next place too, you can't get parked. How much money Price Mart probably paying direction to rent there? How much you paying in property tax? $0.00. Mr. Aboud, who they gave the 4 acres of land for $1 a year for 30 years to build a car park so that the CDA could lease it for $900,000. So he paying the government $1,000 at $1 a year. And they would lease his car park and pay him $900,000 a month. Right? Okay? How much property tax he paying for 5 islands? $0.00. How much money he paying in property tax for the Bricks Hotel? $0.00. How much money he paying in property tax for Price Plaza in Shogunas? Another place. Banks, you have banks in there, restaurants, you name it. Casino, all kind of business inside, they're paying their rent every month. So his money tall, as we would say, at the end of the month. All these tenants inside it. How much property tax is he paying for Price Plaza? $0.00. The owners of the other Abood, who own Gulf City Mall, Eastgate. All them tenants he have there, everybody leaving Trinity Mall, which is government owned, to run down to Eastgate to get a space. So the government is losing income in Trinity Mall. Meanwhile, back at the ranch down in Eastgate, just a stone's throw away, everybody running there and paying Mr. Abood plenty rent money. How much property tax Mr. Abood paying on Eastgate? $0.00. How much is he paying in property tax for Gulf City? $0.00. How much money is Mr. Azhar paying in property tax for West Mall? $0.00. How much is he paying in rent for LSD Plaza? Republic Bank is one of the biggest tenants in LSD Plaza. They have the whole front section there, and then down in the back, where Guardian Group used to be, they take that too, upstairs and downstairs. Right? And then further down in the back, you have Scotia Bank take up a whole stretch. You have the bank, and then you have Scotia Life Insurance. 2 banks. Much they probably jamming them in money? All that money in rent. How much property tax is Mr. Azhar collecting for dairy, plant and machinery? Nothing. Nada. $0.00. All that money that should be going into the coffers of the state to benefit you. So that the government can have money every time you pave a road, they should be able to send the contractor within a week to start to pave. You ain't want property tax, but Rowley wants to make the rich richer. Check all yourself and see who really making the rich richer. Right? Every time Mr. Mute open a Starbucks outlet or Mr. Sabgabood opens a ritual outlet, ask yourself how much property tax they pay in there. Nothing. Nothing. Thanks to who? Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. So don't be fooled when they come in and talk about poor people and poor people and poor people. And they're so concerned about the poor. No, you're not trying to protect the rich. Because all the millions and hundreds of millions and billions that the state should be going in the country's coffers, we're not getting it. And if it is they come back in 2025 and they stick to no property tax, right, that is money that the country losing. So they ain't getting that money. So we don't have it in the coffers to spend. So you know what we gotta do? We gotta go and borrow and incur interest on loans because monies that you should be getting as taxes. Forget the poor thing that they're claiming because $1,000 or less per the year, miss me with that. Because a lot of the people who you're trying to defend as a poor people, listen up, when they want thing, they could save their money. They want cell phones. Some of them have 2 and 3 cell phones. 2 and 3 cell phones. How do they buy that? They throw the susu, they save the money. But $1,000 or less for the year, $81 or less for the month. Some of them spending more than that every time they have a line on Punchin and White Oak. They have no problem spending that money, and I'm certain Punchin and White Oak is not $81. But some of them buying 2, 3, and 4. Some of them spending more money than that on cigarettes for the week. In 2 days, the chain smokers who smoking 2 and 3 packs of cigarettes per day. Yeah, their lungs hard, spending more than $81 for the week on cigarettes, thing to kill them. But you try to tell them $81 a month is too much money to spend to strengthen the title hold on the property and to improve the quality of service that they're getting from the regional corporations. But just remember, now that the councils are going to be full-time and they're getting a higher salary, money has to be found to pay that higher salary too, right? And therefore, let's say no property tax. So the state now has to use the same mechanisms that they currently use to get the money to fund the local government corporations. So a bigger chunk of money that should be going towards helping you, paving your road, cleaning your drains, dredging your rivers and so on, has to go to pay councillors' salaries. So that's less money for all year. Don't complain when nothing happening. When it is that you need a retaining wall because your house on the verge of collapse, and you need the corporation to come and put up a retaining wall in the river to save your house. Don't complain. You may want to pay $81 a month or $972 a year in property tax so that you could get your retaining wall. Well, let the house collapse and then have to find hundreds of thousands of dollars now to go and build a new one. That making sense. That making sense to Somalia. Yeah, and that is what the UNC offers. You want no property tax? We want no tax. Well, here what? Get rid of all the tax now. Get rid of all taxes. All tax bad. If you listen to Kamala, all tax bad. So get rid of no property tax, get rid of income tax, with corporation tax, no tax, nobody in the country. And you know what? The money will apply, will come by magic. Every morning, Dr. Roy will get up and he will go and stand up on top of the Hilton and wave a magic wand, and money will appear in the treasury. Don't tax the energy companies either. Don't tax nobody because tax bad. Listening to the UNC, tax bad. Get rid of all tax. And let's see how the country will run. So that is UNC logic for you. Kamala-matics. We don't want no property tax. And coming to lie now about inheritance tax and asking now where you hear that. We are asking you to give a name, you know. Show us the page, the document, because it has to be documented somewhere. Where is that? I'm not showing all in my sources. The newspaper, they say you mustn't reveal your sources. I don't tell all what the sources are in here. Grey Goose, Forest Park. That's our sources. Let's see if I get this thing here, right? There's so many things I want to talk about today. I know I wouldn't have the time for it, but I wanted to touch on that Trinity school thing, but I would touch on that on another day. Because I want to get to Gary. Yes, I know what I want me to talk about Gary. Another thing. But I saw an article in today's Express, I think it is, where the former youth arm chairman of the UNC, who has crossed the floor to the PNM, there's a picture of a check, a Republic Bank check on the front page of the Express, claiming from some hardware owner, businessman who claims he would have given this check. And the check is made out to Kavish, whatever the hell his name is, I don't know, right? That was the inducement, well, the payment for him to, it is that the allegation is that was the payment for him to cross the floor. And now the young man is saying, well, he never received the check and so on. There's a whole back and forth. But yeah, the main claim here by the guy, the owner, the person who issued the check, he is saying that the individual who was at the time, and you ain't crossed the floor yet, eh? You're still in UNC. But this gentleman, who is an astute businessman, says that the individual, Kavish, gave him certain assurances that he would be able to get him the money that the government owes him, because apparently the state has some money for the hardware. And you know, the government, regardless of who in power, it takes forever and a day to pay people. Except when you are a financier of the UNC or a hotshot lawyer, you could get briefs, send you an invoice, and in 2 days, the money in your account, or they call you and tell you, come and get a check. And so the gentleman is saying, the hardware owner, that the state has been owing him money for the longest while. So he couldn't find anybody in the PNM to bribe to be able to get his outstanding money. So he had to resort to bribing a UNC member, and not any upstanding or noted member of the UNC leadership, just the former UTAM chair, that you approach him or he approached you and he gave you certain assurances and you write him a check for $550,000. That's a pretty hefty sum, eh? $550,000. Okay. And then you found that the guy was a little shady, so you decided to put a stop on the check. It's just not adding up to me, right? $550,000. You know this guy in you, so you come and tell him, well, I'm going to cross the floor. So nobody from the PNM paid him this money. Some obscure businessman who does business with the government paid him this money so that he could use his influence to be able to get the outstanding monies owed. Well, for you to pay $550,000, the government had to be owing you a lot of money. But the depth of stupidity, you have now opened up yourself. Opened up a can of worms, because now people know you have money. Because if you could just easily write a check and just give away $550,000 just like that, on a promise from somebody who's not even a member of the PNM, because at that time he was no member of the PNM, And he tell you, hey, yeah, I can handle that story. I get fed, don't worry. Yeah, just so. Well, here what? Any other hardware owners like that, let me just come and tell Ole, well, I have links now. And I could get the government with your money, yeah. I could handle that for you. Write me a check for 550,000 now. If it's so easy, write me a check for 550,000, please. Yeah. Sorry, I can handle it. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, he says he put a stop on the check. The young man, Kavish, having been contacted by the media, said he never received any check, he never collected any check. He provided the media with a copy of his bank statement to show that there were no deposits going into his account. Of course, he says he only has one bank account, but he could have more. So you never know. But in any event, once your check is deposited, it would come back to the hardware owner in his bank statements. As somebody who formerly worked in Republic Bank, I'm aware, they will get back your check in your statements and the check stamped. So it's very easy to prove if, in fact, this young man got the check and he deposited it. But the check would be stamped. But when it goes down to the collections department, the back office, in order for them to process it, to send it off to the clearinghouse, they will see on the system that there is a stop payment notice on this check. So they will not process it. What they will simply do is to send it to check dispatch, return right, and they will send it off to the owner, and he will get back his check, and then he can prove, look, the check is stamped, and it was deposited in this account on this day, wherever it is. Look, the proof here. It's been more than a month since you claim you gave the young man the check. If he depend, I don't think he would have waited. There's money. Let me get his money as quick as I can before this man changes his mind. Your check can come back yet? Well, okay. You give it to him at the start of the month. Maybe your statements will probably come next week. Yeah? For that kind of money, you could have gone in the bank and request, has this check been presented for payment? Very easy to find out. Ah, boy, never a dull moment in the politics of sweet tea and tea. Now, when the opening song that I played, you all would have heard Sparrow say, don't care what Lionel say. Lionel could lie from now till Judgment Day. Where your belly say on election day, right? I want to deal, before I get to Gary, let me deal with Lio, who I consider to be Lio, right? Kamala Prasad Bissessa. I've said it before, and I will repeat it, is one of the biggest, unadulterated, shameless liars it has on the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. And you see, unlike the press, the media in this country, I will not give her a free pass on that statement that she made last week, Monday, with respect to the increase in the price of flour, because it was part of her written notes. So it tells me that somebody gave her that information, and she felt that it was, yes, this is a knockout punch for them. Let me put it in my written speaking notes to come and talk about it. Shame on NFM, Nutrimix, and all of the other flour companies. Now, they could probably say they didn't hear her say that, right? Shame on the media for not highlighting it and putting it in the newspaper that Kamala Prasad said so. Yeah, but we know, protect her, because all you wanted to come back as Prime Minister so you could continue to get your $1,000 vouchers for Christmas. We know. That's the whole thing, because all you ain't getting that from Rowley. We get this here. Right? How to play this? Shameless. All right, let me get this here. And her supporters lapped that up. But you know, if it was Keith Rowley had done that, they would have done a clip already. And again, this is where I have to challenge the social media. A clip should have been done, cut out that little video clip where she said that, and that should have been on rotation all over social media for everybody to see and ask her. Because I have been checking every day. Print media, social media, electronic media. I have not seen any stories, any posts, nothing speaking to the government increasing the price of flour by 33% last week. But her supporters who came there at that meeting on Monday will run and talk that talk, even though they know it is not true. Even though they would have gone to the grocery, some of them, because it's Mountain, to make the Mountain grocery, I would have seen that the price of flour is the same as it would have been the month before and the month before that. But your political leader told you all on Monday night that Rowley increased the price of flour by 33.5%. You realize that your leader is a liar, an inveterate liar at that. But Rowley is a liar, because Rowley said he wasn't closing on petrol. No, connect this. But for those who may not have heard it, right? You know I like to play it. I don't play that. Now, before she gets there, let me play this.
For taxes. Let them hear it in Port of Spain. Are you going to vote for more taxes? Because that is what they're asking you to support. They want you to vote for more taxes. They want to cheat you out of your hard-earned money. They want you to vote for property tax and inheritance tax. They want you to vote for Hines to continue as the Minister of National Security. They want you to vote for escalating crime and murders. Just this week, Rowley increased flour prices. Did you know that? Flour. Is there anybody here except Peter Kainai who does not eat flour? The only person I know is my General Secretary, Peter Kainai. He doesn't eat flour. But everybody, whether it is bread, biscuit, roti, dumpling, doubles, bake, flour. They raised flour prices by 33%, man. 33%. Can you believe in these hard times? Flour is the basic carbo that we eat. They tell you, eat cassava. Yes? The man went to a place called Ghana and he said, bring a yam to plant in Trinidad. Not one yam reached here yet. They say eat cassava. Did they not know cassava more expensive than flour? Where they live in? Not in Trinidad. Not a replace for them. So 33%. Flour is like gas. When flour goes up, all meal prices go up. 33% more for flour. But they're saying, vote for them and pay more property tax. They even want you to pay more taxes when you're dead. Did you know that? They're going to tax the dead, you know. That is what an inheritance tax is about. Inheritance tax is I work my whole life, you work your life out, right? Whether you work, where you work, you have a little pension, you save it up. Whether you buy a house, build a house, post by post. Greg and I must thank my husband, Dr. Bisessa, for his support. So Greg and we have a nice house now, but we build that house post by post, by block by block. People who live in South, they tell you they're passing, and that house built for 10 years, going up block by block, post by post. Throw it out through, chirp. Yes, Anna, chirp. So you work hard, and you build a little house. You work hard, you buy a little car, you buy a fridge, you buy a stove, whatever it may be to improve your life. You know, when you're dead now, this inheritance tax they want to put on you is after you're dead, is your children, your grandchildren have to pay 25% of the value of the fridge or the stove or the house or the car. Can you imagine that? After you're dead, Rowley still want tax from you. I saw him foaming at the mouth and ranting and raving. Was yesterday? Yes, Sunday. Ranting, raving. And you see how them could lie, boy? Lie, you know. They say 5,000 people in the Napa hole. You go up on the Google now, and Napa will tell you on the Google that hole could only hold 1,500 people. You hear lie? That is lie. Well, right now I want to tell you, I remember old politicians used to say what they do. They count the 2 feet and the 2 hands, and they multiply it by 5, and they get 5,000. Tonight I'm not doing that. This crowd is massive here tonight. I want to thank you. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you so much. And they asked me, Kamala, hello, Madam Opposition Leader, who tell you about this inheritance tax? Quote the page and the number and not tell you where I get it. I have my sources, and the media will tell you they never disclose the source of their information. Trust me. When you said we were telling people Rowley going to bring back property tax, I played the video for you all already. We'll have it again. This man so bold and brass and lying. Come on, you say that is an unadulterated lie. That's a big lie. And you know what? So Sudan property tax.
Right. That was Monday. Right? You heard it. Government Rowley increased the price of flour by 33.3%. Right? 33%. That's what she said. Really? Where? Any of the UNC supporters listening, or who will subsequently listen, you know, you'll like to jump in afterwards and comment and all kind of nasty comments and everything is HYMC. Because the first thing could come out all your mouth, displaying the fact that you'll belong below the gutter, right? In the gutter, under the pavement. Everything is HYMC because you can't challenge what it said. Provide me, please, with any way that I could find a statement, something, anything that's saying that the price of flour increased by 33% last year. You cannot do that. Go in the grocery. If I can't find a statement or an article, go in the grocery and take a picture. Take a picture of the price, please, and post it in the comments and show us that the price of flour increased by 33%. Because if you can't do that, your leader is a damn liar. And I know you all can't do that because it didn't happen. Exactly 1 year ago to the day that she spoke that nonsense, that happened last year. The price of flour went up because of what was happening with Ukraine and so on, where the Ukraine is one of the world's largest exporters of wheat and all of that, and it would have had an impact because of supply side issues. It would have had an impact on the price of flour, the price of wheat, and the price of flour. So that was last year. So somebody went and pulled up an article from last year and gave it to her. She better to fact check it and just run up on stage and talk for 2 minutes. For 2 minutes, she spent propagating that lie. 2 minutes. Right? But nobody called her out on it. Not the media, not the flour companies, nobody. But Rowley's a liar. And Mr. Manning used to say, show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. Show me a liar. Well, look, I show him only a liar. You all just heard the lie from the mouth of the liar. So it follows, based on what Mr. Manning says, show me a liar and I'll show you a thief. Right? 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. I will call her out on her lies if the media would not do it. I will. Lie number 2 that she told. Well, they say 5,000 people was in the hall. Really? Hold on. Just now. I'm going to play exactly what it is Pastor Cummins said. Because he was the one who raised the figure. Let me go for it. All right, just now. Give me 1 sec. Just get this here. Right. I'll be switching between devices, but just bear with me for 1 second. So here, right. Okay, see, I don't just like to mouth things, I like to play for people to hear it for themselves.
What of our attendance at this mammoth convention of the People's National Movement? All seats inside, full house of 1,200 on the inside.
She said 1,500. So he gave a lesser figure, right? Right. He quote a lesser figure, 1,200.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will give you the total numbers. Inside and outside of Napa today, delegates 840. General Counsel and party officers 148. Guests 340. Observers, ladies and gentlemen, 3,812. A total at this PNM Special Convention inside and outside of Napa of 5,140 PNM supporters. Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! Great is the PNM! And we shall prevail. Vote solidly for the PNM on August the 14th.
That was Pastor Cummins. You heard what he said? Right? That's Pastor. Inside and out, 5,100 and something. For those of you who would have seen and would have been viewed on television, you would have seen the big tents that they had outside and upper. The big tents that people were out under. Inside, he said 1,200 inside. She said it could hold 1,500. So, but you come to tell, they lie, you hear lie, you see? The guy hold no 5,000. But the supporters don't clap that. Yes. So she spent about 5 to 10 minutes accusing the PNM and Dr. Rowley of lying. And she used lies to make that claim. But they wouldn't call her out on her nonsense. Right? But Rowley is a liar because Rowley say, we're not closing Petrotrin. And in case it was in your fridge and you're here, we're not closing Petrotrin. Because for them, the only thing Petrotrin used to do was refine oil. So Petrotrin was only the refinery. It had nothing else. So when the refinery is Petrotrin. So all the other things that Heritage doing now and what Parry are doing, right? Petrotrin never used to do that. Petrotrin never used to do that. No. It was just refining oil, just the refinery alone, and that is all. And that's the nonsense. And these are the people who want to tell you, put me back in office. Put us back in office in 2025. Put our councillors there on August the 14th to do what? So you have 4 years of complaints about they ain't getting enough money to do nothing and they can't help you. But meanwhile, they're drawing salary every month. Meanwhile, right now, they're looking who I could link up with to find a spot to rent for my office so that we could inflate the price of the rent to send to the parliament that has to pay the monthly rental bill, and we'll get a cut. But just know that the landlord who they're renting from, not paying property tax either, right? But he's about to get his premises rented by the state to house an office for a councillor. You feel like going and say, well, here what now? Jack it up. How much you going to charge? 5? Well, we're going to say 10. You want 10, right? And you go hold 7.5 and give me the extra 2,005. I'm not putting it past them. I am certain that is what some of them crooks going to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is what some of them have been doing before. Because if you could be soliciting bribe for $1,500 to end up before the courthouse, Glenram and Anil Maharaj, whoever his name is, right? You're sitting on two. You are chairman of 2 committees. So in addition to the salary that you're getting from the state, you're getting money every month, additional monies as the chairman of the committee. 2 committees, you're collecting extra money for that too. So you're making more money than most of the councillors in all of the other corporations. But you're still looking to solicit bribe. That is the extent to which they're going on, to solicit bribe. Some of them, the property that they're going to set up their office, they probably own it too. So the state renting from them. All of these are the opportunities, all the eye open. They're seeing how much different ways they could get money from the government, how they could thief out of office. So if they're so creative in thieving out of office, what do you think they will do when you put them in office? And when I say out of office, I mean central government. They're not in power at the central government level. So if they could thief so much at the local government level, you could imagine what they go do when they get back if you put them back in 2025. As I say, once the treasury door opens, every thief for himself and the devil take the rest of the country take the hindmost. All of them line up with a wheelbarrow. Yeah? Who come in with backhoe? Who come in with dump truck to see how much they could take? The biggest vessel they could find to come and thief, raid the treasury. That's what they do. That's what they do best. Right? But anyway, let me touch on, because in the interest of time, let me touch a little bit on Gary. I don't know if I'll be able to talk about Gary today. But I will see how far I could get, right? So I visited Gary's page and I see the latest post he put out is, a little video that he did. And it says, Gary Griffith has changed his address. He's now living rent-free in the Prime Minister's head. No, Gary. It's the other way around. The Prime Minister living rent-free in your head. Because in the space of one day, you put up about 4 or 5 posts attacking the Prime Minister. You do videos, clips, all kind of thing. You make memes attacking the Prime Minister. Dr. Oli said what he had to say Thursday night and he done with you. Well, for now. Right? He done with you for now. So he know all he had to do was to just throw that out there and you going to eat up yourself. You probably ain't eat since Thursday night. First your vex. Tabanka. You can't eat. Every time you sit down to eat, is only hearing rolling in your head. Rolling in your head. All you hear. I lost confidence in Gary Griffith. The worst mistake I ever made was to appoint Gary Griffith Commissioner of Police. That's all you hear in your head. You're sleeping, you can't sleep. That's all you hear in your head. The Prime Minister whole speech when he probably when he went to sleep Friday morning. Gosh, he couldn't sleep Thursday night. Friday morning when he went to sleep, the Prime Minister whole speech replay in his head. This man sat down to count exactly how many minutes, 47 minutes he said that the Prime Minister spent attacking him. So you sit down listening to the Prime Minister and looking at your watch. You start your stopwatch. Let me see. Right. That's the lengths that you go into. Right? So you can come and talk about that. So who really living in who head? You feel the Prime Minister lost any sleep Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday? No, my friend. Not at all. Okay? It's you are the one frothing at the mouth all over your back, so all over the place because Rowley do you there. Rowley, and it's Rowley. You, a whole half-hour speech to introduce your candidates. Eh? And you spend most of your speech talking about the Prime Minister. You ain't talk nothing about local government. To praise up, you talk about maybe 4 or 5 candidates who you figure stand out. I agree, some of them, good caliber. But nothing in terms of what your party could do. You go and form an alliance with a party that you had issues with when you were a part of them the first time, when you lost your work. You were the same one who told us that you attended a cabinet meeting. You reached late. And as soon as you walk in the room, meeting stopped. The chairman of the meeting at the time, who was the then Minister of Labour, suspend the meeting so that he, Munilal and Vasan Barra could pull you in a side room to tell you take one for the team. To tell you retract the statement that you made, that Ram Logan called you to tell you to call David West and ask David West if he retract the statement, if he withdrew his witness statement for Dr. Rowley. Right? You said that. You are the same person. So you made a claim that 3 members, senior members of the cabinet, 3 senior members of the government attempted to, or not attempted, well, engaged in what could be considered witness tampering, misbehavior in public office, the attempting to pervert the course of justice. You, Mr. Griffith, said that when you told the public that that is what happened. Further to that, you said there was a subsequent meeting between yourself, your wife, Vasan Bharat, and Ernie Ross at Ernie Ross's place, his office, where again an attempt was made to get you to take one for the team. So that is another claim of somebody else who attempted to engage in witness tampering, perverting the course of justice, misbehavior in public office. But when you became Commissioner of Police, you were the head of the police service. So first of all, this claim that you made that what happened with the 3 senior cabinet ministers, did you report it to the police? Because if you reported to the police, I'm telling you, that was a potential crime that those men committed. Right? Because if Anand call you and say, hey, Gary, call David and ask him if he withdraw the statement. He didn't tell you to tell David to withdraw the statement. He called you and asked you to call David because David wasn't taking he called. So he tell you, as the Minister of National Security, you call David and just ask him if he withdraw the statement yet now. And for that, he, Anand Ramlogan, is currently before the court today on a witness tampering case. You are saying that people tell you to withdraw the statement. So what they did was worse than what Anand Ramlogan did. So they committed a crime. But did you initiate any investigation into that to ensure that these men were charged? You are the main witness, the commissioner. You could have given a statement. Did you do that as Commissioner of Police to ensure that these 3 criminals face the court for misbehavior in public office, witness tampering, and attempting to pervert the course of justice? In the 3 years that you were Commissioner of Police, did you do that? Initiate an investigation to have these men arrested and charged? You ain't do that. No, you ain't do that. You tell us all gates would be closed before the 2020 general election. Prison gates still open. What happened to that gate? You close email gate, you told us email gate was a hoax. Email gate was a lie. And you continue to say that today. Email gate is a lie. And Google say, and this one say, and that one say that the emails were fake. But yet still, when you read the final report of the Deputy DPP, it clearly says in the conclusion, the authenticity of these emails can neither be confirmed nor denied. However, when you look at some of the events that actually took place, as was mentioned in the emails, so on the basis of probability, it is more likely that this information contained in here, whether it was emails or transcripts or something that SIS or SIA, whoever overheard and put it in the form of email transcripts, that these things actually happen. but you ain't closed prison gate, where 2 lawyers are accused of cutting and pasting, trying to rip off the state of millions of dollars, appealing cases without the claimants being aware. Documents signed, but the claimants never signed it. So who signed it? How it signed? DocuSign? You can't get a wet signature with DocuSign. But that investigation, there's 2 lawyers since 2014, since 2014, in 2023. 9 years. Simple investigation like that, ongoing. No outcome. We don't hear about that. All right? Ah, boy. I'm going to read some stuff here. So there are a few things, right? Credibility is very important in the political arena. Credibility and proper judgment as a leader. And one of the things Kamala Persaud-Bissessar could be faulted for as Prime Minister was that her choice of people who she put to lead this country and to govern this country was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Poor. That she had to fire, she holds the record for firing the most amount of ministers in this country's history of any prime minister. She loved to boast that her government had the highest energy revenues in the country's history. That is the record she loves to boast of, but she don't like to boast of the fact that you had the largest cabinet in the country's history. So your cabinet would have drawn the most amount of money from the treasury, 33 ministers to govern a country of 1.4 million, while at the same time in the United States, a population of 332 million, the cabinet was 23, 10 less than yours. Right? But you need 33 people to run a country of 1.4 million. But your supporters have no issue with that. The extra 10, and multiply that by about $60,000 a month per minister, $600,000 more per month being spent on ministers, not including the money that they spent with respect to purchasing vehicles and all of that. That's another charge, another cost to the state. And as on that point, I need to remind you all that when Keith Rowley came in 2015, one of the first things he did publicly was to inform his ministers, if all you want to buy nice car, all you want to drive fancy car and big car, don't take no money, no low interest loan from the parliament. Do not tie up the population's money, the people's money in no loan. Go to the bank. The bank have plenty money to lend. Go to the bank, get all your loan, pay the same rates that everybody else pay. No take no soft loan, no low interest loan here with the parliament. Right? You're entitled to your exemptions, fine. But you see, when it comes to the funding, go to the bank. Kamala didn't tell her people that. Maybe you should tell David Lee that. So how much millions of your taxpayers' money David Lee borrowed from the parliament in order to be able to buy the vehicle for your friend to drive at your expense? Meanwhile, some all you, when all you see all your pay slip at the end of the month and how much tax come out, yeah? Well, again, paying all in all your kidney in your lungs when you see that money come out, right? And you have to get up at the crack of dawn to go and stand up on the bus route, the flag down Maxi and bus, and them driving big car, and the friend driving big car, offer your taxpayers dollars, but all they want to put that back in office. Yeah, go ahead. Only leave the bread the devil need. Anyway, so I was making the point. Credibility, right? Gary is on record, and he loves it. This is one of the things he keeps repeating. The Prime Minister gave him 35 million to go after the UNC. But as I always say, every time he talks about that, the figure grows interest, right? So maybe wherever he invests in that story, they need to, the fund managers for the Heritage and Stabilization Fund need to invest some of that money in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund wherever Gary does invest that story. Because in the space of about a year or two, that figure grew from 35 to 45 million. So now he reached 45 million. $10 million in the space of about a year or so, right? So his fund managers real good. They're real good. Credibility. Is it 35? Is it 30? Is it 45? Mr. Griffith, please clarify that first. We want to know. We're confused. We're really confused. And this is not $2 or $10 difference. This is a $10 million difference. So it is significant. So if a year ago you were telling me the Prime Minister gave 35 million, and now you're telling me he gave you 45 million, right? And the same time period. So it's not to say that he come and he give you extra 10. Since you first told the story. It means it's the same money you're referring to, but it keep growing and the figure changing. I'm confused. Because if it is that is the case, then the only conclusion I could come to is that you're a damn liar, right? I wouldn't call you a liar. But if who the cap fits, let them wear it. Now, Mr. Griffith loves to accuse the Prime Minister of being an arrogant, egotistic. He is a megalomaniac. Whatever word you could think about, yeah? All right. I've heard the word narcissist used to describe Mr. Griffith. Not me say so. I just say I've seen posts where they use that word to describe his behavior. I'm gonna pull this up here. We need to examine the individual that Mr. Griffith is. I'm gonna play something for you all first of all, right? Because one has to question. You decide you want to go and join back with the UNC, right? Because that's where you came from. And you see merit now in forming an alliance with them. It's a good thing. And I see Mr. Warner too appears to have thrown his weight behind that alliance. Out of respect for Mr. Warner, who I always credit with being responsible for me having gotten my radio legs, so to speak, my foray into radio, and by extension, which is why I'm doing this now. Out of respect for him on that front, I wouldn't go down that road yet. I won't go down that road yet, right? Suffice it to say. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in the least, right? But whatever Mr. Warner's issues are, whatever his reasons are, fine. But I will leave that there for now. But I want to play this. Where did I have this here? Right. So Gary Griffith is telling you that the UNC is the way to go. Local level and eventually 2025 parliamentary level, national level, right? He is prepared to do whatever it takes to get rid of Keith Rowley and the PNM democratically, legally, even if it means sleeping with the devil, to use Pandey's terms. All right. One of the issues that Mr. Griffith had with the UNC when he was Commissioner of Police was their failure to support the bail amendment bill, right? Which would have seen persons who are caught with firearms, illegal firearms, in the first instance would be denied bail for up to 120 days. So they couldn't apply for bail for the first 120 days of being caught. And we heard the police. It's interesting. On two occasions. The first occasion, when the sunset clause expired, which they put in place, and the PNM was trying to simply extend this sunset clause to keep such persons who are found with illegal firearms behind bars, and the UNC refused to support it on the basis that they say, well, based on the statistics, not enough people getting locked up under this legislation, right? And we're not seeing enough people being held with firearms, illegal firearms, and so on. And Munila said, when you look at the data, it's reading like a binary card, 1, 0, 0. When you're looking on a monthly basis, 0, 1, 1, 0. So on that basis, the law ain't good. So we can't support it, right? But you remember the first time when they supported it, and everybody was telling them, look, we need this legislation. It wasn't taken. Remember, it's only when the man who they wanted as Commissioner of Police, Deodat Dulal Chan, spoke out in his capacity as an Assistant or Deputy Commissioner of Police. Then they decided, okay, we won't give all the blind and we'll support. This time around, they said, we ain't going on that road. No support. Let me remind you all of what Gary had to say about that. You will hear it from his own mouth, not mine. Right, where is it? Where did I see this thing? Right. Listen to him.
This 6 years ago, parliamentarians saw it fit that that person must not get bail for 120 days. So 6 years ago, no bail for 120 days. 6 years later, if you're found with this, they find that you should get bail. This here is a 9mm, on most occasions using a sidearm. This is a 5.56, and then this is a 7.62. 7.62. This wrong. So we have parliamentarians 6 years ago saying it is okay for you to get, you must have no bail if we are caught with this. But this, a 7.62 round, this could go through 5 different people at the same time if they all stand behind each other. And we are stating, we have politicians stating that if somebody is found with this, they have a right for bail. I will then move on to the sidearm. Same thing. With a sidearm 6 years ago, politicians said that no bail if you're found with a sidearm for 120 days. Now you're found with semi-assault rifles and you're stating that no, you have a right to get bail.
Who you was talking about it? The PNM? Keith Rowley? No, we're talking about Kamla and the UNC. They are the ones who refused to support the bail amendment bill. But he linked up with them now. Yeah? Yesterday was yesterday and today is today. So they are the best thing now. Yes, you want good governance? UNC is the best way to go. He couldn't link up with the MSJ or any other party like that. Yeah, they are the MND, but them are dead horse. That's a party of one. So Gavin Nicholas and himself. That's about it. So I figure we will link up with the UNC, and they give you a raw deal anyway. But all right. He held up 3 bullets for the 139mm, a 5.56, and a 7.2. Right? The 5.56, as he described it, applies to a semi-automatic rifle. All right? Today he's telling you no such guns were ever issued to civilians. Let me challenge that. Give me 1 sec to find this here, right? Let me get this here. Now, I want to address 2 things at this point. One, I made the point just now in terms of persons that you would select to assist. Let me say good morning to my good friend, Mr. Darrell Nanton. Yes, I hear you, sir. But as I said, just for now, right? I intend to revisit that, but only for now I will let it rest, just for now. But it won't be for long. Let me get this here. You all remember a fellow by the name of Christian Chandler? That name ring a bell? Mr. Chandler, who was the head of the legal unit under Mr. Griffith. And I'm reading here from an article dated, Chandler arrested, home search by police. Head legal of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Christian Chandler remained in police custody last night after he was detained by officers yesterday evening. Chandler, 43 of Heelan Park, Maraval, was arrested at his home, which was searched by police officers. 3 Special Reserve police officers and 4 women were also detained. 2 other persons of interest, a 51-year-old businessman and a 28-year-old woman, are currently overseas, the Express was informed. Chandler is currently on vacation leave pending the outcome of an investigation into circumstances surrounding an incident at sea on August 5th when a 27-year-old Maraval woman claimed that she was being held against her will on a yacht owned by Chandler. You have a successful business there, boy. It is understood that following the incident, which was reported exclusively in the Sunday Express, a search warrant was executed at his residence on August 16th. Chandler and 13 other people were involved in the August 5th standoff with the Coast Guard officers while on board his yacht on the high seas. At the time, here it is, Chandler had in his possession 1 Sig Sauer 9mm pistol, 2 magazines with 27 rounds of ammunition, 1 Springfield Armory 5.56 rifle, multi-caliber with EO Tech optic, Streamlight TLR 1HL, 3 magazines and 100 rounds of 5.56 ammunition, green tip, police said. So it's so important to note that he did not have an FUL for these firearms. The head of the legal department of the TTPS was found in possession with all of these guns and did not have FULs for any of them. You and Gary was fine. I think, if memory serves me correctly, Gary hired him, right? You couldn't just tell him, give you a hook you up, or is it that it was pending and you take it upon yourself? Well, it's in the works, so let me deal with that. But here it is, 100 rounds of 5.56 ammunition, the same ammunition that Mr. Man just held up there, right? To tell you, 6 years ago, this politician said, no bail, 120 days. Today, 5.56. Mr. Chandler was held with 100 rounds of 5.56 ammunition. What Mr. Chandler was doing with that? What are you going to do? Shoot shark? Shoot whale? I wonder. 5.56 ammunition. Bench there. No firearm user's license. Who pick him? Speaks to the issue of judgment, right? The quality of people that you retain to lead this country. So it's not now his judgment poor in terms of affiliation. It's long time. And we can expect that come 2025, we'll have more of this, right? But that's just one instance. Now he accuses the Prime Minister of being an egomaniac, megalomaniac. You know, he's arrogant. Let's see if you all remember this one. Let me get this here. Right, no, I had saved that. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull this up here. This is the Commissioner of Police, right? Loves to talk about democracy, and who is a dictator and the dictatorship and so on. He said that Rowley is running a democracy by dictatorship or whatever. This is an article dated Saturday, the 13th of February, 2021, in Newsday, entitled, Cops Warn Producer After Post on Bharat, Don't Aggravate the Commissioner of Police. A man who was interviewed by police at his home for 4 hours, after he engaged in a social media tit-for-tat with Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, has been warned not to aggravate the top cop, as this could prove to be problematic. Let me repeat that again. A man who was interviewed by police at his home for 4 hours, why? After he engaged in a social media tit-for-tat with Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, has been warned not to aggravate the top cop, as this could prove to be problematic. Sangre Grande music producer Alan Brizan told Newsday he was still not sure why his interaction with the head of the police service on social media would lead to such a warning. What does that problematic mean? Brizan confirmed that after his spat with Griffith, a party of officers from the Professional Standards Bureau interviewed him for hours on his social media activity and knowledge of circumstances surrounding the kidnap and murder of Andrea Barrett, the subject of Brizan's posts. On Tuesday at about 3:59 p.m., Brizan posted to social media that after 2 weeks of information on the disappearance of Barrett, and this is information in the public domain, the only 3 facts established were 1, Barrett is dead, 2, 2 police detained suspects were brutally killed, and 3, and the TTPS all the way up to the Commissioner of Police was distorting all the facts of this case from day one. Brizan said minutes after he made that post, minutes. So the Commissioner of Police, who was drawing a salary of over $40,000 a month, had time to sit down when he should be out there fighting right now. Right. He had time to be sitting in his office or wherever, going through Facebook to see who bad talking him and who bad talking the police. As they say, Gary Griffith, when he was commissioner, was like Candyman. You know, they say if you go and stand up in the movie Candyman, if you stand up in front of the mirror and say his name 3 times, he appear. So all he had to do was to just say GG. You didn't even need to say it 3 times. And he appeared. Hey, for real? Brizan said minutes after he made that post, Griffith sent him a message. In the thread from Brizan's post, Griffith responded, "It seems that you have some vital information regarding police officers compromising the investigation. Seeing that you have made a public comment like this, then you should be more than willing to meet with the PCA and the Police Professional Standards Bureau to then submit a report to deal with these elements." Brizan rebutted with his own post. "So, did a police suspect fall off a chair and die? I hope you forgive my ignorance, but that is a public statement which brings confusion in the minds of the public. We all believe that justice means a day in court for all citizens, accused or not, in a democratic country." Griffith added, "You said that they were brutally killed. Thanks for your ability to reveal what you know. The TTPS Professional Standards Bureau will contact you. We welcome all citizens to assist in removing rogue elements from the police service, and I am sure that you would not be wasting police time." Brizan said he changed the last point in his post to read, "There are significant contradictions in the information volume concerning the facts of this case. Thank you, Gary Griffith, for your contribution on this matter. Out of sensitivity to the commissioner's feelings." So he realized he mashed Gary too. Minutes after changing the contents of the post, PSB officers called Brizan to arrange an interview. So they were able to pull up this man's profile and do whatever it is and use whatever resources they have to find the man's phone number and call him. Mere minutes, right? You see how easy it is for them to find you? Very easy. A little over 2 hours after Brizan made his post, the officers were at his door. 2 hours after the post. They didn't waste no time. But you know what they want to tell you? When Coleman Woodson lost his cell phone, look how quick they was able to reach you. But they don't talk about this, right? 2 hours after the man engaged in a simple tit for tat, I read for you what it is. He tell Gary, I see nothing wrong in that. Well, everybody was saying, well, we want to know what is really going on. The man fall off the chair and he dead and sustained all of those injuries just by falling off a chair. The autopsy report, which I'll touch on just now, said that he was badly beaten, brutally beaten. There was video footage that someone took on the night when the police went to the man's house. And you're hearing him bawling. And you were seeing off the silhouettes, you were seeing on him on the ground, licks. I know some of you may not have seen the video, but it was circulating. I probably have it saved somewhere there. But in any event, I can't show you. So if I find it, I'll see if it can be posted to the page. So I'll just send it to the admins for them to post it. Right. So police also told him, this is Mr. Brizan, he may be visited by the Police Complaints Authority and other divisions of the police service for more interviews. All because of a simple exchange, he expressed an opinion on social media, Facebook, similar opinion to what everybody else was saying at the time. But Gary catch that one, and he decided to deal with he, just for expressing an opinion. But he is now the defender of democracy. Trinidad and Tobago is a democratic country. The commissioner of police. He added, right, so Brizan said he was later warned to not further aggravate the commissioner, as this could prove problematic. So the police telling you, hey, we don't question you for today, eh? But you try and stay off our Facebook, eh? Don't be aggravating the commissioner, because that could be problems for you. You understand? Relax yourself. Okay? Anything you see about the commissioner, you bypass that straight. Even if you're feeling to comment, forget it. Okay? Disable comments in your right, because it could be problems for you. What does that mean? Problematic. But yes, he talks about Keith Rowley weaponizing and all of this kind of thing. And you send officers, so they may have nothing better to do to fight crime, and this is why people will be complaining. The police, the crime detection rate is 14%, 10%, 8%, because officers have time, senior officers at that have time to go and dig up to find a man number to call him, find his address, and in 2 hours show up in front of the man's house. And probably the only reason why it took that long is because they were probably coming from Port of Spain, he living in Grandy, and it had traffic. So you just have officers who sit down there waiting. They had time on their hands to be able to go and spend 4 hours interrogating a man over a Facebook comment, a Facebook post, an exchange that he had with the commissioner of police. You ever hear any other commissioner of police engaging in that kind of activity? You ever hear that? Okay, well, you vex because the comment I made was from public information, and even though I criticized the commissioner, it was in no way defamatory. It would be good to have anyone describe to me the thought in my post. Griffith said on his Facebook page, he called the PSB because Brizan's posts were serious allegations. In the post, this is Griffith speaking here, the individual made certain statements accusing officers, including myself. What was his statement? He accused them of covering up, right, the truth. These were serious allegations which must be investigated. We're going to investigate. The man made an opinion based on the information that was in the public domain. And I'm sure there were other persons on that thread who probably made similar statements. So what? You will lock up everybody for having a personal opinion? You will detain people in the house for 4 hours? How much questions you could ask based on that 1 or 2 statements? How much? Waste that time. But the police had time for that. He goes on to say, I immediately contacted the Professional Standards Bureau, and given the nature of the case involved, they acted with haste. Really? Griffith said the right to freedom of speech must be balanced with responsibility. So a man make a post. Not even make a post, he just comment on a post. Call it, and he didn't call your name. He said the commissioner and in the space of 2 hours, police was knocking down his door to detain him for 4 hours to question him about 2 statements. But Keith Rowley is arrogant. Yeah. And that is what we expect, that you terrorizing citizens. So everybody know you have to be careful when you go on social media. You can't criticize the commissioner of police because it will be treated as aggravation and it could be problematic for you. You know, you're driving down the road, you hear a siren, and the next thing you know, you're facing a case because police pull you over and mysteriously they found a gun in your trunk. They pull you over and mysteriously they find 2 kilos of weed under the front seat. And you have a case to answer. Or maybe we could bring you in for questioning, and the commissioner decides that he wants to come and participate in the interrogation. And the next thing you hear a report of, threats being made, gun pull on you, man choke you, and the station diary, the page recording that information is ripped out. I just say, This is the best commissioner we've ever had. He says so. I continue. The two men who were detained for, well, they weren't really detained. The two men who were suspected of having committed the kidnap and murder of Andrea Barrett. Y'all remember how they died? One fall off a chair. The next one was brought in, carried in the hospital, never regained consciousness, and he died. But the autopsy showed that they were both badly beaten. Let me read this for you. Griffith denies suspect in Barrett's abduction was beaten to death. Autopsy carded for Friday. An autopsy is expected to be done at the Forensic Science Center, St. James, on Friday to determine the cause of death of Andrew Morris, who was one of the suspects in the abduction of Andrea Barrett. According to police, Morris, 35, died on Monday at the Arima Hospital. Reports have been circulating that Morris died because he was beaten to death by officers of the SORT. However, Police Commissioner Gary Griffith has denied those reports. Griffith said that the man was in custody. He was offered something to eat by the police, but he refused. He was placed in a chair when he fell. The officers acted swiftly and took him to the hospital where he died. Griffith also denied reports that he tried to withhold information on the man's death to the public, as the information concerning the death came 2 days after it occurred. So this is his story, his report on what happened. Let me read it again. The man was in custody. He was offered something to eat by the police, but he refused. He was placed in a chair when he fell. The officers acted swiftly and took him to the hospital where he died. That's Gary Griffith. All right? I'm going to read this for you. This is an article dated. I like to read articles, in case you all didn't realize. Express, April 20th, 2021. Title, SORT Boss Charged. Inspector Mark Hernandez, head of the Special Operations Response Team, SORT of the Police Service, has been charged with misbehavior in public office. The charge was laid around 4 p.m. yesterday by his colleagues of the Professional Standards Bureau after consultation with the DPP, Roger Gaspard, earlier in the day as well as at the weekend. Hernandez, 46, will now have to face a charge at the Sangre Grande magistrate on June 1st. After the charge was laid at the Maloney police station, he was granted bail in the sum of $300,000 by a justice of the peace. For 5 days, the officer had been in the custody of the Professional Standards Bureau officers, having been arrested at his home last Wednesday morning for questioning into the deaths of Joel Balcon and Andrew Morris. Morris and Balcon were taken into custody for questioning surrounding the kidnapping and murder of Andrea Barrett in late January. Both men eventually died at the hospital after being arrested by SORT officers. At 2 p.m. yesterday, Hernandez appeared virtually before Justice Betsy Ann Lambert Peterson for the hearing of a habeas corpus writ that was filed by his attorneys. At the hearing, the judge was informed by the attorney for the police service, Johan Niles, that the process to charge Hernandez was underway. This resulted in the judge giving investigators until no later than 4:15 p.m. to charge the officer or have him immediately released. Following Hernandez's release, Rambin spoke, well, as Jared Rambin was his attorney and all of that, right? So in total, there were 22 officers who were attached to the SORT who were detained with respect to that incident. Let me find this thing here, just now. Right, where is it? Where is it? Just now, there's so many things to read. Right. So, I want to, no, not that one. I will read that one for you all just now. Gosh, so many things just now. Where is it? Right. I had the thing saved here now. It's an article detailing, I don't know how many of you recall, Kirkwaite of Fixing TNT would have published the granular details of the autopsy report for Mr. Andrew Morris, which showed all of the injuries that Mr. Morris would have suffered. Broken ribs, fractured skull, damage to his lungs that caused, well, the beating caused his lungs to fail. It was a variety. I don't know why I do have this here. I'll probably find it just now. Is it the same article, boy? But The extent of the injuries that he suffered, based on the second autopsy, showed in no way in hell he could have sustained those injuries just by falling off a chair. But Gary Griffith is telling you, right? And he created SWOT. He selected the officers who would serve in SWOT. The understanding is some of them were SRPs that he would have brought in, persons who were seconded from the army and so on, and who came in as SRPs to serve in that elite unit. Yeah? And we recall what was said, or the way in which these men died. It is inconceivable to believe that as a commissioner of police, you have this high-profile case taking place. Everybody talking about Andrea Barrett. Everybody was hoping she would have been found alive. When it was discovered that she was murdered, and we had, people on edge, and then when we heard that suspects had been held in respect of that matter. So the country's eyes was on it. It was the most high-profile case at the time. So these two men are held, and the country wants to see justice done. And both of them end up dead within a space of maybe hours of them being detained by the police. Detained. I find it difficult to believe that the commissioner of police, right, would not have inquired as to what happened. So even if you buy the story that Morris fell off the chair and suffered all those injuries, his skull fractured, ribs break, all them kind of thing, right? Because apparently this chair was 40 feet or maybe 100 feet off the ground. So when he fell, he sustained all those injuries. They didn't put Belcon to sit down on any chair. He didn't sit down on a chair. He didn't fall off any chair. But he suffered a similar fate as Mr. Morris in terms of the injuries that resulted in his death. For the commissioner to run out himself and say, well, no, they lied, there was no beating. The police, they went to his home, he was handcuffed, he was read his rights, he was taken to the police station to be interrogated, and they offered him something to eat. He said, no, I'm fine, I had dinner before you all came, so I'm very full, I good. And they said, well, have a seat now, we need to interrogate you shortly. And he sat down and he suddenly started to feel faint. Maybe the new environment had him disoriented and he just fell to the side just so. And he did. Trying to find it anyway. But this commissioner of police come in a press conference to tell you all, no, there was no beating. He just fell off a chair. So what went on with Balcon, whatever it is? How did he sustain all those injuries? How did he die? How? Confused. Maybe when he sit down in the police car, they probably swerve and whiplash would damage his neck. I'm confused as to how he suffered all those injuries when you could come and say. And the police officers who were part of the exercise that resulted in the capture of Mr. Balcon and Mr. Morris, they didn't tell you that's all they tell you? So what did they tell you about Balcon? You didn't inquire how the man dead, just so. Two young men, 135 and 130 whatever, just so they died. And that's the story that he came and fed us. Right? Story he came. He don't ever talk about that. One of the most high profile, if perhaps not the most high profile case ever under his reign. He don't ever talk about it. But he's the best thing. Best thing since that. I'm going to read something else for you. We're reading today. This is from Wired 868. This is dated Tuesday, 8 November 2022. And it's entitled, Dear Editor, Gary Griffith got it all wrong once again on licensed firearms. The very loquacious former Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith, has gotten it all wrong once again. In a recent bizarre murder-suicide executed by means of a licensed firearm, it was revealed that the perpetrator, businessman Shamzad Mohammed, had been issued with FULs for 5 legal firearms. 5 guns. What one man need 5 guns for? Acting cop Mr. McDonald Jacob indicated that all 5 FULs were issued during the period September 2019 to July 2021. Mr. Griffith became Commissioner of Police in August of 2018. So Mr. Mohammed would have received all 5 FULs under Commissioner Griffith, who says, as all over the place saying, all the firearm users that I issue, none was ever used to commit a crime, and none was ever lost, and none was ever... Acting cop McDonald Jacob indicated, right, Mr. Griffith was the cop during the entire period. Lo and behold, to my amazement, in that very same article, Mr. Griffith is reported to have said to the journalist, the facts will show in my 3 years as Commissioner of Police, there was never one incident of a licensed firearm being lost, being stolen, or being used to commit a crime, or being used to commit a murder, because I had stringent mechanisms in place to prevent those things. Clearly, a licensed firearm was issued during the period that Mr. Griffith was Commissioner of Police, was used to commit the crime of murder by an individual, Mr. Mohammed, who was also granted 4 additional FULs. Mr. Jacob also indicated in the said article, Keisha Bostic's murder was the 4th incident from the latter part of the last year to now where a licensed firearm was used to commit murder. The 4th incident, contrary to what Mr. Griffith is telling us, that none of the firearm users' licenses that he issued was ever used to commit a murder, commit a crime, nothing. But Mr. Jacob is telling us a different story here. Why allow one individual to possess 5 legal firearms? How many can he use at any one time? Firearms are extremely dangerous, and a commissioner of police is not usually a psychologist, psychiatrist. Moreover, even such professionals get it wrong in their assessment of an individual's likely behavior. We have seen incidents in other countries where seemingly well-balanced individuals have gone on a killing spree in a fit of rage. We have also seen both here and abroad where relatives of licensed gun owners have used the guns to commit suicide, or especially in the case of young children, to inadvertently or otherwise harm themselves and others. There is no fail-safe mechanism to store such lethal weapons. Soon enough also, as has happened in other countries, bandits will target persons whom they know possess these weapons for the purpose of stealing them, right? So the guy who killed the young lady in South, opened fire and shot her up in her car in the morning and so on. And remember that? But I think they had been married for a short time and so on, and whatever led to a separation. And he, as she was leaving for work, shot up the car, killed her, killed himself with firearms that he would have been able to get thanks to Gary Griffith. Right? This was issued between 2019 to 2021. 5 guns. Now, this robust system that he had in place, you didn't find it strange. Why one man applying for so many guns? Yes, you're a businessman, but there's only 1 gun you could use at a time. Does it make sense for this man to have 5 guns at one time? That means that's 5 guns that, as mentioned in the article here, criminals could get from him. That is 5 legal guns that could end up on the street to be used in crimes. I ain't see nothing wrong with that. 5. The owner lost his life and his wife lost her life, right? A young woman who simply, well, for whatever reason, the relationship went sour and she just wanted to move on, and he can't accept that. And if I can't have you, nobody could have you. So I gonna kill you and then kill myself. But you have this same Mr. Griffith and his new partner in, cohort, Mrs. Pasabri, are both advocating. Put them in office and we will make it easier for you to get gun. Once you're a law-abiding citizen and you could get a clean certificate of character, you never commit a crime, you could get a firearm user's license. This man, Mr. Mohammed, was a law-abiding citizen. He is a business owner, I assume, a man of upstanding, right? Okay? At the time, and this is what they're saying here, the commissioner is not a psychiatrist. So when it is that you're trying to fast-track things, and everybody, you want a gun you could get. You have sound mind at the time. You were happy in your marriage. But then you come in here, you get horn, and you trip off, right? And she leaving you. That ain't happening. You and me, 2 are we going out. If I can't have you, right? How much more of that can we expect? He's saying he will give you a gun. Kamala saying she will give you a gun, right? How much more of this, situations like this, can we expect under the 2 of them? How much more? So now, remember the school teacher who got killed, I think was sometime early last year or so. When she was planning to leave the husband, they were living by the in-laws. And she told them, and we heard the video and so on. I think the husband was a school teacher too or something like that. Had some big argument, and he pulled the cutlass, chopped her, killed her. Right? And I think he attempted to kill himself, or if he killed himself or something. I can't remember if he died. But he had a cutlass, and he chopped her. Now, if you could bring yourself to chop somebody to the point to kill them, you have a real belly. You had to have a real belly to see yourself chopping somebody, flesh open, and chop them multiple times, and you okay with that, something had to be wrong up there. But if you could get a gun easy, you don't need no cutlass. Nah. I'm going to kill his sheep, and I'm killing the outside man, and I'm kill myself. 3 are we go there. How much of that can we expect to see under Gary and his sidekick? Right? You heard what this says here, right? But Kamala say you walk on, no problem. Stand your ground. Stand your ground, and you're going to get a gun. So they come in your place, you feel threatened, shoot them. He complaining, same Gary Griffith, right? Some meeting they were supposed to have in Maloney the other day with one of the candidates, and the police were supposed to come and speak to the residents and the attendees of the meeting. And I think because the meeting was labeled political or something, he take issue with that, and he said that the government politicizing the police service, and that is illegal and whatnot and so on, right? He had an issue with that. But the other day, Dinesh Rambali had a public meeting, which he hosted, and was attended by police officers. I didn't hear Mr. Mann come out to say that that was politicized. I didn't hear him put out anything complaining that Rambali trying to politicize the police service. That was the meeting where Johnny Abraham spoke at, when he was saying, I ain't telling Ole what to say, but if somebody come and think, and you do what you had to do, but just know what to say after, so you could get off. Johnny Abraham, former head of the Central Division, telling people, do what you had to do when they come in your place, but just know what to say after. No comment on that. No comment on that. That wasn't a political meeting. Rambali, just because it don't have an election, Rambali wasn't going up for election. But you are a politician. You're holding a public meeting, right? A meeting being held under the auspices of the UNC. So the likelihood that the majority of people who attended that meeting, if not all, are supporters of the UNC, because it wasn't as a public meeting per se, at large. It's being hosted by the MP for the area, right? So we know what happened there. I ain't hear my friend say anything about that. But it happening in Maloney. So you're going after Camille Robinson Regis and whoever the candidate was, who they politicizing the police service. And selective in your criticism. Selective in your criticism, but then you want to talk about you being fair and about, no, you're not fair. Because you should have criticized that too. You had no comment on what Johnny Abraham said and what could be construed from that. When they come in your place, deal with them, just know what to say. And we could train you in what to say so that you could get off and do it again, right? And then you just refine the story. So anytime it happen again, yeah. So as I've said before, you're home, the next door neighbor having a party, 11, 12 o'clock in the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, the music's still blasting loud, and you and your children have to get up the next day. You to go to work and they to go to school. So you decide to just go across and ask the neighbor to turn down the music a little bit. And he drinking whole day, right? Whole day. So he on cloud 15, and he had gun. And an argument sat, and the next thing he pulled the gun and put 2 cap in your backside. A husband lost, a father lost, a citizen lost, a worker lost, right? And we know that is not beyond the realm of possibility in this country. Them things does happen. Cuss out happen all the time. Between neighbors. All the time it happening. But they are saying, let us take it a step further and give the neighbors guns. So let me see who could kill who first. Because you've considered this neighbor to be a pest and you're always in war. You know what? I stand in my ground today. Let me see if I can aggravate him enough, let him charge at me, and I could put 2 cap in the backside, and that's the end of my problem. Just get them gone. Because you know why? They are law-abiding citizens. And they could get a clean certificate of character. That's the only criteria you need. And when you have applications by the tens of thousands, right? And it's the police, there is a process that must be followed to vet persons who get in firearm users licenses. Right now, it's a lengthy process. Because after you do your application and so on, they have to do, as I've said before, they have to interview you. I think you have to do some other tests. They have to come and talk to your co-workers, your friends, your family, to establish what type of person you are. And is this somebody they think should be holding a firearm or multiple firearms? So when you have tens and hundreds of thousands of applications, because everybody could get gone now, once you're an upstanding citizen, you have to take out how many officers off of active duty to conduct this process. So it's either you hire more officers just to do that. So they're not fighting crime. All their work is to go through firearm users license applications, to vet the people, to get approval. That's all. And we will be paying them thousands of dollars every month just to be doing that. And it's not to say that the backlog will eventually get less so that they could be put into other areas. When you have one person applying for 5 and 6 and 10 firearm users license, rest assured that these officers will always be busy. And then when they have to deal with renewals and all of these different things. So you need a whole unit with a whole set of officers, right? Just to deal with firearm users license applications. That making sense to them. So it's either you hire more or you take an already trained police service, take a set of officers off of active duty and put them behind a desk. And their only work every day is just to go through firearm users license, to go to people's home, to talk to their co-workers, talk to their friends, family, and everybody so that they could get a gun. And we paying thousands of dollars, 9, 10, 15, or how much ever thousands of dollars a month just for them to do that every day. Increase the government's recurrent expenditure bill for foolishness, right? For nonsense. And then all they talk about ANRO anyway. But she tell earlier, she going to cut the corporate tax rate in half. Right? So businesses who pay the largest amount of taxes in this country will be paying half of what they're paying now. And if we're struggling, government is struggling to get revenue, to balance the books, to pay its debts, to avoid having to take loans and incur other debts to be able to serve the country and to provide for the country's needs, with the tax rates being what it is today. If Mrs. Prasad Bisesa comes into power and cuts that tax rate in half, how is that lost revenue going to be replaced? How? She says she will open back the refinery. Really? And I'll buy that story, but she opened back the refinery, and then how she doing that? You know how much money is going to take now to reopen that refinery? And to do what? The oil will magically appear under the ground? I just asking that question. Where the oil coming from? So we're going back now to import 100,000 plus barrels of oil per day to end up back in the same situation that we were in before. With a refinery that's not making money because we don't have the oil domestically, so we have to import the oil. But they're complaining about importing fuel. What's the difference? You're importing the fuel to serve the needs of Trinidad and Tobago, but also when we buy the fuel, we also sell some to other Caribbean countries. But they're telling you now, instead of buying the fuel, we will buy the oil, refine it here, and sell the product. You still need foreign exchange to buy something to bring it in. It's either you're bringing the fuel or you're bringing the oil. But in any event, that company is going to be a drain on the country's foreign reserves. But that is logic for them. But I will revisit or continue my interrogation of the UNC's economic transformation plan at a later date. Not too far, probably next week or something, right? But in the interest of time, let me open the lines because I already see I'm late. Yeah? So forgive me. Yes. And I see people done start to ring down the phone already. I told you I had a lot of this one. Right. 7701763. Is it? Yes. Just it's taking long to connect. Right, I think that's it. Yeah, so 7701763 is the number to call. Good. Richard says, what were those who bashing Mrs. Christopher now? Yes, good. Indeed. Even Mr. Griffith, right, is bashing Ula Christopher and fueling a campaign for people to attack her as well. There was one thing, give me 1 second, that one of the other things I was supposed to touch on, and I was supposed to play that clip with him making the claim that Dr. Rowley hired Stanley John to write the report with respect to the investigation. Dr. Rowley never hired Stanley John. Stanley John was retained by the Police Service Commission, not Dr. Rowley. Dr. Rowley, as head of the National Security, would have commissioned the first report. So there was no need for him to retain the services of Stanley John when he already got a report the first time from the former soldier and the other. I can't remember the names. But this is it. Integrity. You're lying. You know Dr. Rowley did not retain Stanley John. You had full confidence in Stanley John at the start of the investigation. When you said you contacted him and he told you you are not the subject of his investigation based on the remit as given to him, he is not investigating you or any other officer. He's interrogating the process of issuing firearm users licenses. And as soon as you see something show up in the papers because the report leak, you vex. You say you never see the report. You ain't know what's in the report, but you know you implicated in it. How? You see a man? Anyway. Ah, boy. That's all. Folks, just give me 1 sec. Let me see. Good morning.
Morning.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chance.
Oh, what a well-researched program.
Thank
Very
you.
well-researched. Touched on a wide range of topics which are all very important.
Yes.
And I want to join you in touching on the matter with Gary Griffith. I want to join you with that. And I want to ask your callers and your listeners, ask them, having listened to Dominic's discourse, where he quoted from media reports. I want you to hear that part I'm saying, Dominic was not making any allegation, any libelous, or any defamatory statement about Gary Griffith himself. He was quoting media reports. He quoted a range of media reports on the conduct of Gary Griffith in the office of the Commissioner of Police. And I want to quote another one. He ended up with this one. I want to quote one. This is the one from January 22nd, 2022. A story written by Denise Wren and Express. And why we are doing that is because we know he said that he's going to sue. So we are making very clear that these are reports that we are reading from, and you will have to make judgments on those reports. And let me tell you, based upon all that Dominic said, this was the report, a very critical statement made by former Justice of Appeal Stanley John, a very competent, distinguished member of the appeal court in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm quoting his words here. These are not my words. These are the words of Justice Stanley John. He says, a thriving, well-oiled, white-collar criminal enterprise. Let me say that again. A thriving, well-oiled criminal enterprise in respect of the grant of firearm users license and other restricted licenses was being conducted, and I want you to hear this part, in inverted commas, under the nose. You put inverted commas, under the nose of the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. I didn't say that. Dominic didn't say that. It's the retired Justice Stanley John says that. Having listened to all of that, my question this afternoon to each and every one of you, can you trust this man? Can you trust this man for the people of Trinidad and Tobago? Who this man described as cockroach in part of his description of persons in Trinidad and Tobago? Can you trust him? Well, I'm making one appeal. On yesterday's papers, there was 31 candidates under the NTA banner, 31 of them. Each one of them had to make a deposit of $2,000. They came from Point Fortin, Diego Martin, Port of Spain, Sao Lavantil, Tulapuna Piaco. Yes, along that east-west corridor. I want you to give me the assurance that $2,000 by each and every one of them, the 31 of them, will remain in the treasury. So having defeated fully the NTA, we will have $62,000 remaining there. They must each lose their deposit and send that message to Gary Griffith that we do not trust him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Dominic.
Greetings.
Enjoy the program, boy. Good editorial as usual from your visa. Every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yes.
And keep up the good work. I'm so glad that little meeting that I had was very successful, which means I think that I'll look up for you.
Yes, indeed.
Right? And we need certain things to come out of this.
Yep.
Continue what you're doing. Don't let nobody stop you because I'm seeing the trolls and them are actually on your live.
Yes.
They're coming after all the you PNM activists and they're not making joke. They are a wounded animal right now. But Dominic, you remember this same gentleman who told Jack Warner and our audio tape that this lady had like a 4-day weekend? You don't seem to remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
So why you going back again? Why you going back to that lady? If she have a 4-day weekend, then she's not fit to be Prime Minister.
Yes.
It is obscene. But you have a hatred for Dr. Rory so much that you, like they said, they're willing to sleep with the devil just to get into power. And I'm like, I don't know if you have time, but I noticed, again, it's like Gary Griffith. I don't know how you feel about UNC dirty tricks. How you feel about UNC start shaming women in this country, particularly one of our PNM candidates. All that came out in defense of the lady who was the candidate or the representative from Shoguana's East. What pictures?
Vandana Mohit.
What? Yes, but now there's a little recent photo of a PNM candidate. Or just such shaming her. Is it because she's African? You know?
Yes.
And this is the first time I do that because I think they also did it with the young lady in Tobago who was fighting against Father Augustine. I don't know if you remember that.
Franca.
Some video came out. Yes. So I am looking at all of that. So is okay to body shame the Africans in the PNM when those little pictures come out. But when you have people like Miss Mohit, and of course, allegedly leaked images of the MP was in that Austin. Just a legend. It is not okay.
Yes.
Hypocrisy to count. Right? I'm not talking about, well, I hear a lot of background about those candidates. Recently, last night I see a video about some angry activists in the UNC that's about a character from who was going up in Felicity.
Yes.
Yes. And also alleged sexual allegation conduct down Princess Town too. For the talking about that, but they find but this the Anna Green was write a story about the gentleman who defected from the PNM stepped and checked. Right? That's a story. Why did we investigate those allegations in the PNM in the UNC candidate? I'd like to hear a word about that one. I will listen up here there. Thank you very much. Continue.
Thank you, sir. Really. And as you raised that point, I saw one of the UNC's candidates who is employed with the central bank is now taking the central bank to court because the rules are that if you're an employee of the central bank, you're not allowed to contest elections, right? Similar to what obtains in the police service. Police officers are not allowed in, and we saw what would have happened with Dwayne O'Connor when it is that he offered himself in the last, I think it was in 2019, as a local government candidate, and what happened with respect to that, right? But here it is that we have the central bank with similar rules, and it is quoted in their book or whatever it is, the bank's regulations that employees are not allowed because the central bank is supposed to be seen as being an institution that is impartial, fair. So it cannot be said that the government, the central bank is taking this decision with regard to monetary and fiscal policy because it's UNC or it's PNM. Jayanti Lakshmi, the two usual suspects, and Anand Ramlogan are the two lawyers seeking to take the central bank to court for this gentleman because the central bank has given him two choices. You either resign from the position, right? Either you resign or you step down as a candidate. The regulations, rules, these have been in place for the long while. This gentleman was aware of this and still went ahead. Okay? But anyway, let's see. What is this going on? Just one second. Let me pull this up here. Hello, good afternoon. Hello?
Types of health. Doctorates, are you hearing me?
Yes.
In hypocrisy. Everything is fact for PNM, but lies for UNC. It's amazing how people UNC do not think. Stop, listen, think. Is it fact or fiction? But then again, you must worse the name with Cockroach and Julian John and with Mark and Ronnie Charles sit down there. Are they exempt from those insults?
Apparently.
Because you are African. Kamala had it goal to wear African garb. She went to Mandela's funeral. Are you Prime Minister for Yellow only for UNC for Curry? Because can you go to Guyana or Barbados or Haiti as a leader? Where you respect for others? You like us? Conveniently. Big example for election when it had you rain. EBC took a bribe. But 40 to bonus, when he sees that, okay? Should they win, EBC get more time when they win.
Yes.
Their praises, or if they lose their discuss, Kamala. I call it keep pacing the rum, borrow mine, rent a mine, thief a mine, and make it up. You make me sick. Dominic, keep it up, my love. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Brian, call me back. Hello. Good afternoon. Yes, sir.
Yes, good day. Yes, good day. Good day to all the viewers and the listeners. Dominic has once again, good program as usual. And you touch on some valid points with respect to. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Touch on some valid points with respect to the FUL and this motor mouth who keeps going on and on and on and on. And it is clear to see that everybody know what that leader of the NTA parties is about at present. Because you are stating that that you are renting space in the Prime Minister's head. That's that. Since that file that Dr. Roddy would have dropped in the meeting on Thursday, you start from then. And I have been observing all his posts and trend on social media.
Yes.
And he's coming out every day. You're on Wall Street, you're on Wall Street radio station, online radio, you're the TV6, you're with Express newspaper, you're with this, you're with that, and I want to know why the media does give this individual a lot of airplay and to come and speak. All right, if you want me to vote for your party, you have to prove to me why should I vote for you.
Yes.
And Gary is not giving me as an undecided electorate. Why should I vote for your party?
Yes.
Because all your tantrum is about rowdy, just like Kamala. Or they have no plan whatsoever for this country. And I only hope and pray that people really come out and understand that this local government election is a very critical election. This will decide who is going to govern the country from 2025 onwards. People have to know what they're about and who cussing and making noise and crying and things. But here is Dominic, I don't call it after. I have a piece of story to hit here. And I'll call it after the program.
No problem.
Right? So guys, look on, listen, enjoy the program.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good afternoon. We see who have it. That's not 1 sec. I'm trying to get this now. All right. Just now, I'm just having a little issue with the link here, so I'm not hearing you. Just yes, sir, go ahead. Okay. I don't know what I wasn't here. Brian, you call me, both of you actually, whoever called first. We see voting for PNM August 14th, Jennifer Frederick, indeed. Yes, Jenny. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Dominic,
Yes, sir.
good afternoon.
Greetings.
Dominic, good afternoon to your listeners and callers as well. Dominic, I have something to talk about this entire week. I will start with your program.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Who is Trophy Ali, Dominic?
Who is who?
Trophy Ali.
The name is familiar.
Yes, Dominic. You see, I want Trinidad and Tobago listening, you know. Because we have a tendency of forgetting after 9 days and going back and making the same mistake because we have excuse like we fed up and they're doing nothing for me.
Brian, that's Nairi Afonso's husband?
Yes.
Okay.
But people don't know that. So I'm going to ask you a question this whole week to remind people who is Trophy Ali. Now, according to what the Honorable Prime Minister read out on Thursday last in St. James, I'll be able to listen, you know, because you see, information important. Because for months and years, we're asking how these guns coming in, how all these ammunition and guns coming into the country. Hold on, and then they're talking about a certain individual who was abducted from Barbados and brought back here. Okay. But Dominic, based on the information that was in the Newsday that the Prime Minister read out, right? Since I think it was May the 13th, 2023.
Yes.
I went and checked. I said, but wait now. Hold on. Something wrong here. By my calculation, Dominic, in the 3 years that Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, besides the permits he gave us for people to bring in guns and ammunition, approximately, and I want to be quick, I don't want to go through all the exact numbers, approximately between 126 to 150 assorted types of guns and rifles were brought into the country. And also, Dominic, a total calculation of approximately 108 million bullets of assorted type bullets of 9mm, 5.56 and 7.62 plus the 40 and the 0.25 were brought into the country. Dominic, a 9mm bullet, which is a small one, ranges from $1 to $40. Again, you know, a 5.56 bullet, Dominic,
right,
ranges from $3 to $60, dependent upon the type of ammunition, the severity, the damage it can do. And the 7.62, which could pierce through wood, iron, metal, what do you call it? These things that the police wear, the guards, the bodyguards,
bulletproof vest.
The vest.
The bulletproof vest.
And according to Gary, you could have 5 people sitting down at the same time, one behind the other, and that bullet will pierce all 5 of them. That bullet cost $153 for one. Now, if you have 108 million bullets in Trinidad and Tobago of that assortment, in 3 years, I am averaging, Dominic, at the lowest level, that is approximately close to 1 billion TT in bullets in 3 years. And don't talk about the assortment of guns, Dominic, could be up to approximately between 750,000 TT and 1 billion TT dollars, Dominic. Dominic, who have that money to bring in all of that?
Well.
Dominic, and on top of that, you have Trophy Ali carry the Commissioner of Police, Ms. Christopher, to court because she denied him, right there, the wherewithal to bring in $3,600,000 100,000 bullets. So he went to court, he took it to court recently, and she told the court, listen, there are 100 guns, legal guns that would have been used for murders, robberies, and suicides. And that is the information that she has amongst other information that she would have given on her sworn affidavit in the court. I want to ask you, Dominic, and Trinidad and Tobago, to all you help me. I need help. I want to know if there is going to be, if in case a certain set of people lose the election, if there is going to be a government takeover. Or is it for stand your ground? Or is it for a coup, like what they had in 1990? Or is it, Dominic, for trafficking in guns and ammunition? Is that why the ATF gets involved, Dominic? Of Department, the Department of Justice and Department in America? I want people to help me. I need to know. Because Gary Griffith sat down there for 3 years, and all he do is sign documents and gave up over 662 licenses, Dominic, to bring in guns and ammunition into Trinidad and Tobago. You apply today in the morning, you get it in the evening for licenses and FULs. So asking Trinidad and Tobago, please, or just help me. Why would 1.4 million, a few multi-millionaires or perhaps billionaires in this country, be bringing in that assortment of ammunition at that amount? Are we going to have another coup? Is it for stand your ground? Is it to overthrow the present government in case people lose the next election or the election in 2025? Or is it in trafficking in guns and ammunition? I want to know, Dominic. I need help. Dominic, I have more to say, but I want to just give that, and I'm going to be giving this information whole week because I want to know why it is that people were given the licenses and FUS and provisional licenses that ammunition that could pierce up to 5 people plus iron, wood, and body vests and so on. It's being brought into the country not only to be used for practicing on the range, but being used in murders where again a man gets 62 bullets in one place and one in the east one gets 47 bullets. That's over $4,000 worth of ammunition in one person. I want to know what's going on. Dominic, gotta help me, but I'm not sure. Trinidad and Tobago, please, when you're calling us, give me some information, please, now. What are them 108 million bullets being used for? I want to know. Dominic, I have more to say, but I'm going to leave that for now. I'll get some answers today, Dominic. If I get answers today, Dominic, I'll call in tomorrow on another program and ask the same question. Have a good day, Dominic.
Thank you. Jenny, yeah, really running late today. And I see this story with Vivashi Tiwari, I think, who she used to be the morning talk show host on TV6 on a Friday, and she has been relieved of her position. And now the allegation from the UNC is that because of what she said the other day with respect to the 19-year-old who was killed in Diego Martin, who was used as a shield, a body shield, and he was killed. And where she would have indicated that the Minister of National Security is drawing his salary under false pretenses. And she has been relieved, and UNC is now making the allegation that somehow it was politically motivated, and perhaps the government or the Prime Minister may have intervened for her removal. But I would draw to your attention, her predecessor, Fazil Mohammed, used to say some of the worst things about the Prime Minister. Worse things than what she said on a regular basis. And he wasn't fired, right? He retired. Years upon years. There are many clips to show where he used to have the worst things to say about the Prime Minister. In fact, he was doing an interview with the Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, and he called him a consummate failure or something like that to his face, and he still had a job. The same OCM, the same TV6. So I don't understand how now they can make allegations that the government called TV6 and tell them fire her. And the man who was there before her used to say worse, and he kept his job. Make it make sense to me now. Pick a struggle. Oh gosh, boy. Jeez. Really sickening. 7701763. There was someone who had called me and I'm having some trouble link. 701. You can feel free to call me back. I won't call out the rest, but the number starts with 701. And Jenny, I saw you were calling. So if you're still there, probably have another 5 minutes or so. 29 shots killed Salem Muwakil, an old man in his 70s. Wow. Debbie Marquis says, why they don't accuse Radio Jagriti of political games too? Exactly. Valine Williams says he's taking the cup to court for not allowing him to bring in a multitude of ammunition. He's another entitled Talit, I think. What else we have here? Right. Phyllis says Gary's motive is to get rid of the Prime Minister. He's not even talking local government reform. So true. He's politicking. Melka Rock says he's politicking and campaigning against his target, Dr. Rowley, but he really didn't have anything to offer. That's it. They have nothing to offer. Nothing to offer. All the UNC is telling you, vote for us because the PNM bad. Vote for us because Rowley bad. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Following on what Brian said, I can understand why Gary Griffith is living in the head of the Prime Minister after all that I heard with respect to the numerous ammunition and guns that he brought into the country. But there's one other thing. Gary is a trained soldier.
Yes.
And so we cannot push aside the fact that he is a trained soldier with all these guns and ammunition that he was bringing in. Possible coup. Who would have been directing matters would have been Gary himself, because he's trained to do that. We cannot leave that out of the equation. It is a good reason why I think the Prime Minister had to keep him in his head at all times. You have a good day.
Thank you. So Will Joanne is saying, I would like to know, when I listen to Sister Jenny program and she talk about the amount of guns and ammo given to TNT, I want to know what all those guns were for exactly. When you read the affidavit that was sworn by Commissioner Willa Christopher that was submitted to the court, and we see the increase in the number of guns from about just maybe 2,500 or so for the year, and it went up to as high as 64,000 guns coming in 1 year. 64,000 to sell to who? Now you can't even tell me it's the police, because the police service has about 7,500 officers. So even if you sell the police 3 guns per officer, you're still in reaching 64,000. So the only way persons could get access to those guns is if it is that you have a firearms user's license. So I'm asking the question, is it a case that these guys had reason to believe that there will be persons who will be eligible to purchase these guns soon? Some information they had, firearm user's license would be given out level so that you have a market for that. Otherwise, why would you spend precious millions to bring in guns to just have it sitting down somewhere and nobody's coming to buy it? You only do that if you have a market. So I just asking the question. But the gun's there, Kamla saying, all right. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, I have a theory, and I see a comment, one of your people in Facebook, perhaps there's a market for private militaries in the country. Those so-called private militias that we see in Central and South America.
Yes.
Like in Colombia, where they're fighting against the FARC and them. Perhaps somebody has dreams of creating private militaries, like the Wagner group in Russia, to fight war. That the only thing can happen. And to those Africans who are NTA candidates under the realm of Mr. Griffith, how do you feel as an African when Gary Griffith called your people cockroaches? And he had the audacity to put you in the East-West corridor. Gary himself is being outsmarted by the woman, because the idea of a coalition is UNC will give up a safe seat and give it to the NTA and vice versa, correct, Dominic? Why is it the UNC didn't permit Gary to contest seats in San Fernando and San Grande? Are they afraid that they will lose San Grande seat because they did put the NTA in? Are they not brave enough?
Yes.
And all of that thing. Look at the strategies. What shocked me more is that the so-called UNC activists like Kingsley and Gad Christopher and the Garcia and all the fellas from the ground report. I see they put an NTA candidate in Kingsley area.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I don't know how true it is. But if that's the case, Kingsley and them don't have the statistical fortitude to fight and tell their mother that, hey, we want a UNC candidate, change the seats. But no. Anyhow, I look at the badness and think they're studying PNM business. They want to shame body woman in bikini, but they have a representative who's supposed to have naked as an exhibitionist, and she still wants a seat. You're all good here, boy?
You too, sir.
Thank
you. Right. So, it is now 1:42. Didn't intend to go this long, but, it happens. So again, as always, thank you so much for tuning in this Sunday morning into afternoon. Always a pleasure to have a discussion with you and to share with you my thoughts on what is happening in the country. So look out for future developments. I wouldn't let the cat out of the bag now, but we'll see a little later on, right? Phyllis Antoine is saying, I think Vashi was taken off the morning program, not dismissed. So she put out a post indicating that her time on the morning program has come to an end, so she will no longer be hosting. I don't know if it is that she was just on a Friday, but she did indicate that she would no longer be on. And Rodney Charles is questioning whether or not she was removed from the program or dismissed from the program because the Prime Minister or somebody from the government would have contacted TV6 to complain about that little rant that she gave the other day with respect to the murder of the 19-year-old young man from Diego Martin. Right? A most unfortunate situation, but yeah. So, but people leaving the Express in droves, I see. If you check on Rhoda Barrett's page, news source, you will see yet another person has left. So, TV6 and Express OCM group, but I need to check all yourself, right? Whoever writing them editorials for you all. Anyway, folks, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, the rest of your weekend, and God's willing, we will chat again on Tuesday. I see they have another Monday night forum tomorrow night. Mrs. Pasabi says so he's using that as an excuse for her not to attend a function that I think it's an official dinner or something like that for the CARICOM heads or something. She turned on 2 invitations, one from the president and one from the prime minister. So she felt that she should have been invited to the plenary session because as a former prime minister, and she says she contributed to CARICOM while she was prime minister. So your contribution was negligible, nothing on the same. All right? But if that's the position, you want to be petty Betty, and you ain't going because you find you need a special invitation. Did they invite the other opposition leaders from around the Caribbean region? No, but you figure you special. Look, Rock Suyas, better you stay home and rub Gregory head and massage your foot. Folks, thank you so much, and we will chat again, God's willing, on Tuesday. Right? So I'm out.